I'm ready.
Are we ready to go? Is it yet 5 o'clock?
4:59.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Delray Beach City Commission meeting this June 3rd, 2025. If the clerk will please call the roll.
Commissioner Marker.
Here.
Vice Mayor Long.
Here.
Commissioner Cassell.
Here.
Deputy Vice Mayor Burns.
Here.
Mayor Carney.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. If we could all rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You can be seated. If everyone has had an opportunity to review the agenda, we need an agenda approval. Any additions, subtractions? Now's the time to bring it up.
None for me. Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. We are now into proclamations. And the first proclamation, I am very happy to be able to read here tonight. And I see Lynn Cohn in the front row, who I used to see every Friday morning, or almost every Friday morning when I showed up, most of the time. I had an opportunity to, I've known the chief, both when he was here and then in Boca and then back, for many, many years. A fine gentleman, a credit to his profession, credit to the city, credit to his family, and a credit to his friends, of which I'm delighted to call myself one. So we've got this proclamation. Kerry died a few weeks back, it was a very sad day for all of us because he really did. He was always such a big part of our Friday mornings. And because he always had something to say. And he would actually call and lobby me from time to time, too. He says, I don't want to talk to you about this breakfast, but, he would call. But anyway, he was a delightful man, and I would like to read this proclamation. Whereas Kerry B. Cohn was a dedicated public service as fire chief for Delray Beach from 1985 through 1994 and from 2001 through 2007. And beginning his firefighting career, he worked his way through the ranks to the rank of fire marshal, where he helped pioneer the establishment of the EMS and the paramedic program in the late 60s and early 70s. Whereas during his tenure, he oversaw significant improvements to facilities, several new fire stations, and the new fire department headquarters on Atlantic Avenue. Whereas as fire chief, Kerry Cohn was known to be an innovator and a popular leader. He took pride in getting to know the men and women who worked with him and was prized as a mentor and a friend. Whereas his vision was to uplift the department from being average to establishing a level of excellence that many area chiefs aspire to emulate. Whereas he was instrumental in upgrading the department's fleet, building 3 fire stations, and was known for always remembering firefighters and their families. Whereas Chief Cohn worked closely with both city and community leaders to foster a sense of collaboration that we needed to accomplish the department goals. Whereas Kerry was beloved by his firefighters who trusted his steady leadership, especially during times of strife. He mentored more than a generation of firefighters, elected officials, and civic leaders. Now, therefore, the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach does hereby proclaim June 3rd, 2025 as a day to honor the memory of former Fire Chief Kerry B. Cohn by celebrating his enormous legacy and service to our city. Here we have official photographer. This is official. Thank you very much. Thank you all. We now have an update from Mark Dearman regarding the PFS litigation settlement.
Mayor, my apologies. That should have been removed from the agenda. Mr. Dearman is going to come in 2 weeks.
Okay. Well, then, moving on to 4C.
Actually, that's actually being rescheduled as well. We just received word of the last
so I was wondering
day.
if you were going to do it by Zoom or something.
So we were just notified that there was a bit of an unexpected conflict, so she'll be rescheduling for another time.
Well, we're ready. Are we ready to adjourn yet?
No, sir.
Just checking.
This pace is going well tonight.
Presentation. We now have the presentation of the city's annual comprehensive financial report. Oh, there you are. Okay.
There's a turn on. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, City Commission, City Manager. My name is Moises Ariza. I'm with the firm of CBIZ, and as part of today's agenda package, you received a very large document, nearly 200 pages, which is your annual comprehensive financial report. This document was released in late May, but I'm here to summarize it for you, and I'm going to touch base on certain pages. So if you want to follow along, I'm going to make reference to the printed page numbers. Okay. If you turn with me to printed page 1, I'm sorry, and with me here today is my colleague Scott Montgomery. We both worked on the audit as well as other people from the firm. But if you turn with me to printed page 1, you'll find our independent auditor's report. On the top is our letterhead, our firm's name, CBIZ CPAs. We are the world's 7th largest CPA firm, and we specialize in auditing and serving the public sector nationwide. Our address is on the top right. And the auditor's report starts off with a section titled Opinions. And what the purpose of this section is, it makes reference to what we audited. And as mentioned here, we've audited the financial statements of the City of Delray Beach as of and for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2024. The most important paragraph in the entire auditor's report is the second paragraph that starts off with, in our opinion. And in terms of an audit, an auditor concludes and provides an opinion. That's an auditing term. So as mentioned here, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the City of Delray Beach as of and for the year ended September 30th, 2024. So in essence, it's a clean opinion, and this is the only opinion that you want to be associated with when it comes to a financial statement audit. The document goes into, or the auditor's report goes into other responsibilities from city management as well as the auditors. Following the independent auditor's report, if you turn with me to printed page 4. On printed page 4, you find the management discussion and analysis. So as mentioned before, the document in itself is nearly 200 pages, and this section, the management discussion and analysis, starts on printed page 4 through printed page 17. And these 13 pages summarizes the document. So if I could suggest, I would suggest that if you were to read a section of this report in its entirety, it'd be the MD&A. These 13 pages summarize the document, and the nice thing about it is it's put together from management's perspective in terms of comparing fiscal year 2024 versus fiscal year 2023. So it highlights financial metrics, not only quantitative but also qualitative, comparing your assets, your liabilities, your revenues, your expenses from fiscal year 2024 as compared to fiscal year 2023. And the nice thing about it is not only does it provide you fluctuation in a quantitative manner, but it also provides you the underlying justification or explanation of what is causing these financial metrics to be different or as expected in terms of fiscal year 2024. Following the MD&A, if you turn with me to printed page 18, this is a statement of net position. It's the closest thing that we get to in terms of a balance sheet. We start off with the assets plus deferred outflows minus your liabilities and your deferred inflows equals net position. And net position is another term for equity. Your equity in terms of government accounting, it's classified either what's invested in capital assets. Capital assets are your property, plant, and equipment. A piece of your net position is restricted by outside parties. In this case, you have restricted for law enforcement, capital improvements, future debt service costs, and then your net pension asset. A net pension asset is created by funding your pension plans, but the reason it's restricted is because it is not to be used at your disposal. It has to be used for the benefit of the pension plans. And then the bottom, the remaining portion of unrestricted net position is a positive 86.3 million. So in essence, if you were to liquidate all your assets, pay off all your liabilities, the unrestricted net position as of year end is a positive 86.3 million. Following the statement of net position, you have your statement of activities, and that's on printed page 19. And this is similar to a profit and loss statement. The reason it looks a little different here is because for government accounting, we start off with expenses. as opposed to revenues. So the first column is your expenses based on what type of activities, either governmental or business type activities. To the right of that column is your different program revenues. And at the bottom of that is your general revenues for non-exchange transactions, which are your taxes. Ultimately, having a positive change in net position for the fiscal year of just north of 59 million for the city of Delray Beach, and that's at the bottom right, the second to last column on printed page 19, bringing your beginning equity of 400.6 million to 459.6 million as of fiscal year end. Following these two statements, the following pages provide more granular detail by what is known as opinion units. So the first two pages, printed page 18 and printed page 19, is a comprehensive summary of all the opinion units of the city of Delray Beach. And then following printed page 19, starting on printed page 20, you have the granular detail of the difference between governmental funds and business type activities. Starting on printed page 27 and 28, you have two statements. These two statements do not roll up to the condensed statement of net position and statement of activities because these are your pension trust funds. So they're required to be presented here, but when in terms of combining the quantitative numbers for the presentation of the city's statement of net position, it is intentionally not combined because those are not to be liquid or to be used by the city of Delray Beach. Those are entrusted for the pension funds. Following the statements, starting on printed page 29, you have the footnotes, which provide comparison or starting activity of the first day of the fiscal year, October 1st, 2023. Fast forward to September 30th, 2024. I'm not going to into much of the information, but you have statistical information. If you turn with me to printed page 151, thank you, Scott. If you turn with me on
Sorry.
on printed page 151, yes, we audited fiscal year 2024, but the nice thing about this section titled the statistical section is that starting on printed page 151, it summarizes the 2024 final numbers, but it provides the reader 10 years of history. So you can see where you were 10 years ago, going back to 2015, fast forward to 2024. So it provides you every fiscal year end, and it compares not only the statements, the financial statements, but starting on printed page 155, you have the underlying modified accrual basis statements, and on printed page 159, it shows you taxable property values for the past 10 years. So you could see the estimated total on tax roll year 2014 was 9.7 billion. Fast forward 10 years later, we're talking about 25.8 billion. So it tells you the history of the increase in assessed property values. On printed page 161, it compares the principal property taxpayers within the city of Delray Beach. In 2024, Florida Power and Light Company was ranked number one. And if you were to compare it to 10 years ago or 9 years ago, it would be fiscal year 2015. Back in 2015, they were also ranked number one as the highest paying property taxpayer within the city of Delray Beach. But as you can tell, the top 10 have fluctuated as compared to 2015. But it gives you a little bit of history of how far the city has come in terms of its taxable tax roll. Following the statistical tables, if you turn with me on printed page 177, you have what is known as a schedule of expenditures of federal awards. So this schedule reflects every grant, every federal grant that the city of Delray Beach expended during fiscal year 2024. And that aggregated to north of 4.4 million. So this schedule reflects all the federal grants. It tells you who is the agency and the amount that was expended. just want to clarify, this is not every grant that you receive, is only those that have been expended. So sometimes you may receive an award, but there might be a lag in once you receive an award and when you actually expend it, so that might be reflected in next year's schedule of federal awards. This year we tested based on a risk matrix on printed page 180. We highlight the fact that we tested the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds program, as well as the Homeland Security Disaster Grant Public Assistance Program. So we tested two major programs in terms of ensuring that the federal awards that are received by the city of Delray Beach were used in accordance with the grant program's grant contracts. When you receive these federal awards, they're required to be expended or used for specific activities, specific programs. So we as auditors test and do a random sample of the expenditures, the vendors that are being used, to make sure that those transactions are in accordance with the federal grants and federal laws. Following that, we have a section of recommendations, as well as our management letter in accordance with the rules of the Auditor General of the State of Florida. We're on printed page 188. There's a section titled Financial Condition and Management Assessment. So one of the things that we do is we're required to report to the Florida Auditor General if there's any deteriorating financial condition of the city of Delray Beach. And as mentioned in our report, there was no items to be reported. There's a procedure manual that we follow set forth by Chapter 10550 from the Florida statutes. We follow the procedures and the requirements, and as mentioned here, there was no items to report. Following the issuance of the document is submitted not only to the Florida Auditor General, but it also submitted to your federal agencies that provide federal grant funding. That process was already performed and addressed prior to today's meeting. I'll open up for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Are there questions, Mr. Long?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Casal?
Does Mr. Markert have questions?
Mr. Markert?
No, no questions.
I do.
Okay.
I have some questions if you don't mind.
Yes.
Sorry, I was trying to follow along on the computer with the book because I can't read that small. But page 11, the 6.6 other financing. So, because it looks good because our revenues are, forgive me, I got to get to page 11 if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's your printed page 11.
Yes.
I'm sorry, and it's a different page on the computer.
Yes.
So forgive me for a moment, if everybody would just give me a moment. Hang on, I'm scrolling. I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
Just give me a sec. I'm
No,
getting
no.
it on my computer, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to go through. Well, it's actually 27 or 8 here. Okay, it's coming. Thank you. Sorry.
No worries.
Thanks. Okay. 9, 10. Here we are. 11. So we had 175.7 million in our general fund in total revenues.
Yes.
Which was offset by 174.4 in expenditures, which
Yes.
sounds good. But what is the 6.61 million in other financing? Because in fact, our revenues, our expenses our revenues were outpaced. Our expenses were greater than our revenues. What is that 6.61
Yeah,
million
I'm
in
pretty-
net other financing sources?
So it there's a detail of that 6.6 million in printed page 22.
Okay.
So just for clarification, on that chart that you're looking on printed page 11, it's modified accrual basis, and it comes as close as sometimes we think about cash basis.
Got it.
So it's a cash basis schedule. What that 6.6 million represents, there's an accounting standard that requires us or requires the city to recognize subscription-based financing arrangements, which is a very fancy way of saying software. So many
Okay.
years ago, we would purchase software and we would expense it. And now there's a lot of acquisitions of software that you're able to access the cloud or a portal online.
Okay.
So the accounting standards a couple of years ago said, you know what, that expense of purchasing or acquiring access to these portals should be capitalized, as opposed to you having a P&L effect or flowing it through as an expense. We're going to allow you to capitalize it, and then we're going to allow you to amortize it over the term of the contract. So It's a government accounting standards board statement that required implementation last year, and there's a recognition of
I
that
vaguely recall that.
of that, as well as activity related to transfers in and out, which is not an expense. It is a reallocation of revenues to other funds based on the budget document that's approved by the elected body.
Understood. So essentially, though, then our expenses are 181 million, and our revenues are 175.7.
No,
Well, if you do the math, I know what you're saying. I understand what you mean about it, but essentially, we went into our reserves for 5.3 million to balance our budget. Is that correct? Says the result in a decrease in fund balance of 5.3 million.
yes, but
Right. I understand what you're saying. It just for the individuals listening, the purpose of my statement is to show that the city is spending beyond what it's bringing in on an annual basis at a minimum for the last 3 years as expressed in this document, and somewhat beyond, and we're utilizing the reserves. Now, we're at a higher rate than we need to be because we have a 21 to 25%, so it's okay, but it's important when people are listening to this presentation that they understand our revenues don't actually,
just
we
clar-
need more revenues, essentially is what I'm saying,
Yeah.
to the taxpayers. Thank you. And I have one other question. If we go to the page.
Can I just to clarify?
Sure.
Please, yeah, please.
Sure.
Yeah, if I could clarify. So, I understand. Just to, due to the way there's accounting treatments, there's certain other financing sources that are not true cash outflows.
Right.
So I just want to clarify. Yes, the presentation is correct. There is a reduction in fund balance of 5.3 million as of year end, but it's a required presentation for accounting in terms of modified accrual basis.
Understood, totally.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then the page 119, I think it is, that was the pension liability. And forgive me if you said this. There's the three different. There's the general, there's the fire, and there is the police.
So on
And it
printed.
looks like our liability, I want to just be accurate when I'm asking my question, if you don't mind, so I'm trying to scroll to that page again. Forgive me, everybody.
No. On printed page 119, that's the one, just to clarify, the page is titled Requires Supplementary Information, Police Officers Retirement System, Schedule Changes in the Net Pension Liability and Related Ratios.
Correct. What, in looking at this,
Mm-hmm.
we see that the total pension liability at the beginning of the year was 159 million, 159.7 million. And at the end of the year, correct, it's 100.
I see a number on print on the column 2024.
Yep.
Are you on printed page 119 or printed page
I'm
118?
page 118. please.
118. Okay.
I'm on the general.
The general
Yeah.
employees pension plan.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is, so the pension liability,
Mm-hmm.
total pension liability is, at the beginning of the year is 159.7 million.
Correct.
And at the end, it's 168.7.
Correct.
Okay. What part of that is unfunded?
So good question. So if on printed page 118, the top portion of the schedule, which starts off with total pension liability,
Yeah.
these are actual costs related to running the pension plan.
Okay.
As you mentioned, on the first day of the fiscal year,
Yeah.
the pension liability was 159.6 million. At the
Right.
end of the year, it was 168 million. So that's what is a liability.
Right.
So what has the city set aside to fund this liability? And that's the second portion of the schedule, which commences with the line item plan fiduciary net position. A very fancy way of saying how much
So-
have I set aside? And we set aside, the city has set aside 193.1 million.
Okay.
So as of this fiscal year end, this particular pension plan,
Yes.
the general employees pension plan, which is not the same
No.
to the other plans, it was funded 114%.
Fabulous. Now, can we go quickly down? I'm just going to go down to the next one, which is so the police are 78% funded, correct?
Yes, and
Okay.
to clarify,
Yeah.
this document is put together under accounting principles.
Okay.
So if you were to compare this document to an actual valuation, we might have a 2% difference because they
Understood.
follow
I'm not
actual
holding you to
standards.
these numbers specifically,
Yeah.
but, and no offense, because while the book looks very similar, some of these charts are different from what we've seen in the past,
Yes.
and perhaps because we're not using Markham anymore, but some of them I couldn't
Okay.
readily find what I was looking for,
Okay.
and forgive me for asking
No,
the
no,
question.
this-
So at the 78.4 funding,
That
what
is
is
for
the
the
amount that is unfunded? What is the dollar amount that is unfunded in the police pension?
So, correct. So, you're asking me of printed page 119, there is 191.4 million liability on the top portion of the page.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the page, how much has been set aside, which is titled Planned Fiduciary Net Position as of the end of the fiscal year,
The
is 150.1 million. And the difference between both of them, which creates the liability, is
It's
41.2
41.3275.
million, correct.
Okay, so 41.275 million on the police, and then if you go down to the fire, I'm gonna quick look at that just for my own benefit. It's 43.75 million.
That is correct. There's on printed page at 121. There's the total pension liability of 219.7 million, and there's a planned fiduciary net position at the end of the fiscal year of
So we have
176
like
million.
85 million in pension, unfunded pension liability, approximately if you're combining the police and the fire.
43 and 41. I'm at about
Well,
80
43.75 and 41.275.
minus you minus 25 because you're overfunded the general employees.
Got it. I was just including these two, but you're right. I should have minused that out. But that's just for the residents to understand when we're doing all these contracts, when we're looking at what moving forward financially. This is a liability. This is money we don't have. Thank you, gentlemen. I was a little disappointed by the notes in the file, specifically the one that we've been carrying since 2021. And so when we first encountered that, we didn't do much, but then Mr. Stacy came on board, who's lovely, and he's implementing this time and attendance. But I would argue in those two departments, it's taking way longer than I feel like it should have, because we're now going on our 4th year with a note. And so is there a requirement? Last year, I believe, I recall in reading the ACFR, that there's a requirement to report us. Is there a reporting requirement with this note coming up 4 times in a row?
So just to clarify, just to put it into context, there's a recommendation that we, again, we're CBIS, and that's her name today, but we were Markham, and we merged into. So there was a recommendation that we did back in fiscal year 2021 regarding the payroll module in terms of the payroll process at the city.
Right.
The city went ahead and worked towards remediating that item.
Right.
And as noted in our report, the majority of that item has been addressed.
Right.
It's a particular portion of our recommendation that remains outstanding, and as mentioned here, we give credit to the city staff for doing and putting all their efforts into addressing all of this, and it is their belief that by the end of this calendar year, the last piece of the module will be implemented. Just wanted to.
So there'll be no, in other words, last year when we got this, a letter, I believe, had to be sent to some government entity with respect to that. Do we have to do that this time around as a result of these notes?
Yeah, so typically, just to put it on. So as I mentioned before, this goes to the Florida General, and it goes to the federal agencies that are providing federal funding for the city of Delray Beach.
So you think your note in the document is sufficient?
No. So what's going to happen next is they're going to go ahead and read the document, and they might send you correspondence saying, we read the document, and it states that management of the city of Delray Beach believes that this will be addressed by a fiscal year, by December 31st, 2025.
Okay.
They might send a letter saying, if anything changes, please make us aware. If you need more time, just to have a dialogue regarding that. So
Okay.
it is their protocol to follow up on items like this.
Okay.
And they also require us to identify when was the first year that we provided the recommendation.
Right.
And as mentioned here, it was
2021.
2021.
Right. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Okay.
Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Mr. Marker.
No further comments.
Commissioner Burns.
No comments. Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
report.
My comment was really related to the deficiencies which you've addressed. I noted the unfunded liabilities of the pension. They really are relevant only if everyone leaves at the same time, so hopefully that it will never be an issue. But thank you very much. It's a great, we appreciate all the work you've gone into it, and I want to thank you for your time and your effort.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be of service. If there any questions arise after today's meeting, we make ourselves available. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, comments and inquiries on agenda and non-agenda items. First is the city manager's response to inquiries and highlights. I'm sorry, Rob, did you, I'm sorry.
No, sorry, I'm
You're looking
trying
to be
to-
recognized.
No, sorry, I'm trying to fix my screen.
I mean, I do recognize you.
Yes, sir. I have one brief item. I've actually spoken to a couple of you all about this individually. One of the consent agenda items that is before you this evening pertains to the Davis Cup piece. We've talked about this a little while ago, and it's important to clarify, although the value and level of sponsorship coming from the city of Delray Beach is about $490,000, the predominance of it is in-kind contributions. The cash outcome is about $75,000, and the other associated value accumulates to about $490,000 to include a collaborative partnership with the Palm Beach County Sports Commission. So public safety services, the value of the facility, and other equipment utilization to help make this event successful. I just thought I'd take a moment to offer that clarity because, of course, some people had the misunderstanding that it was nearly a $500,000 cash allocation from the city of Delray Beach. That is not at all the case, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to address inquiries and highlights coming from the public, not to mention a conversation I've had with a couple of you all on the subject. With that, I hope that alleviates any concerns there might be. All is very well in that regard, and this is actually consistent with previous experiences that the city of Delray Beach enjoyed with respect to hosting tennis events.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
you very much. We've come to that part of the meeting where it's public comment. Meeting is now open to public comment from anyone wishing to speak on any topic or agenda item other than a quasi-judicial item and public hearing items. Public will have an opportunity to speak on quasi-judicial and public hearing items later in the meeting as those agenda items are called. For public comment, please sign in, state your name and address for the record. You will each have 3 minutes. Ms. Shannon.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Nancy Channon. I live at 200 Northeast 2nd Avenue. And what I want to say is that I have served on the Police Advisory Board, have done ride-alongs, and have long been active in the community, and I've also financially supported some of the police projects, such as the ice cream truck and the police explorers. And I can tell you that we have a terrific hands-on police department. Unfortunately, since October 1st, our police officers have been working without a contract. This has adversely impacted the department's vacancy rate, specialty units, and morale. We are losing people with years of experience to the PBSO, and in several other instances, detectives and other officers with specialized training have been doing road patrol. An integral and essential component of our PD, community policing, is among the units impacted. We also have one of the best officer training programs around, and if Delray is no longer competitive with other municipalities, graduates will go elsewhere and we will lose our investment. I tried to do some research on the drop, no mean feat, and especially because I'm not a financial genius. But according to the union, their own study indicated that the increase would bring in revenue. I also heard that you hired an actuary, the commission, to do a study, and that the impact would be minimal. I'd love to see the study. Commissioners need to step up and negotiate with the Delray PD in good faith before things go from bad to worse. What's more important than the safety of our residents? Due to my community involvement, I've come to know several employees personally and think we have one of the best departments around. Our heterogeneous population and our myriad special events mean that our police have challenges that not all municipalities share. And that just reminded me of due to what's going on, the Hanukkah festival. I'd rather have our police there than the PBSO as a Jewish person. That's just an aside. I just feel good about them. But anyway, we should not be penny wise and pound foolish. We need to invest in our police. People's lives depend on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, she can't
My
say
name
the
is
time.
Christine.
She's asking
I'm here on
how
behalf
many
of Donald
Stand by.
Lindsay.
We're trying to make our clock work.
Sure.
Going the wrong way there. Should be speaking forever at this way the clock's working now.
Do you want me to time it with my phone?
I didn't do this. My guess is like,
Do you want me to do it, or do you want to do it?
I don't need it
Totally
yet.
We can do it.
We can time it with our phone.
I can do it from the phone.
Yeah. Or would
I'll
you
give
like
you.
me-
I'll give you a warning.
Sure.
So
Thank
hold
you.
on. Let me just get this up and running.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. My name is Christine. I'm here on behalf of Donald Lindsay, and he cannot be here today because he does not feel well, so this statement is being made on his behalf. Donald Lindsay resides at 401 West Atlantic Avenue in Delray. Atlantic Grove, where I live, consists of 2 buildings at 401 and 301 West Atlantic Ave. It is a 3-floor mixed-use development with residents on the 3rd floor. There are 44 businesses and 24 condominiums, approximately. With a diverse group of businesses and a wide range of culturally diverse people, most people, I think, like myself, have chosen to live there because of its diversity, not in spite of it, making it an interesting, fun, and enjoyable place to live. In the 4 years I've lived there, there has never been, that I know of, a single complaint between any party, resident, or business for any reason, with the exception of the 2 businesses that residents complain about all the time, which were given the right to run as restaurants but are in reality operating as nightclubs. And both of these entities cause problems almost every night they are open. Breathe, on the 1st floor of the 401 building, doesn't start its operations until 10 p.m., the time when all the true restaurants have already closed. Their loud, deep audio bass, which rattles the windows and buzzes the walls, goes on, as advertised, to 2 a.m., if not later. And usually there is an after party which continues in the street and parking lot for at least another hour, sometimes requiring at least one additional call to the police. Once the after party subsides, you're lucky if you can finally fall asleep within an hour or 2, because that's how long it takes for the frustration and adrenaline to subside. Asleep at 3:30 a.m. and up with the bio clock at 6:30 is not just a disturbance, it's an unsustainable, serious problem. The other nightclub, also known as a restaurant, is the business Grooves, that is 110 feet away from our units at 401. It should go without saying that restaurants have names that sound like restaurants and refer to food, not a name such as Grooves with also the word daiquiris in the name that refers to music and drinks characteristic of a nightclub. In the 401 building, for example, we have actual restaurants like Windy City Pizza and Zure Thai and Sushi, with whom everyone enjoys and coexists peacefully. They also close at 10 p.m., but Grooves, like Breathe, is open after the hour. All the other restaurants close, and with a focus on music and drinks, they again cause issues almost every night they are open. In just one example, occurring last Friday night, which now happens 2 to 4 times every week, after about a month of Grooves opening, I was finally able to sleep at 3 a.m. On Saturday, after rising as usual with the sun and already suffering from multiple nights sleep deprivation, in a week, I couldn't take it anymore, and went to a hotel to avoid the Saturday night Grooves Grown Folks Night, advertised to go on at 2 a.m. Then I stayed until Monday to avoid the soul and karaoke night, which has been a problem every Sunday for the last month.
You have 20 seconds.
So now, thanks to the City of Delray's zoning management, we have to leave our home to find out peace and quiet, to simply sleep. And the circumstances are only getting worse. No one is saying that nightclubs shouldn't exist, but does it need to be said that nightclubs and residences in close proximity are incompatible?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before we move on, can I ask a question?
This public comments,
I know it is, but
you supposed to fix this after the meeting.
thank you, Montre. I appreciate your input.
Thank you. Thank you, Montre.
Hi, how are you? I won't be 3 minutes, so you can
I
start.
think we're back running.
We're
I
back
think
in.
We're back up and running.
Okay.
our highly
I'm
skilled
Kay
IT
Johnsons.
department.
I live at 1801 North Swinton, but I'm also with the Delray Beach Public Library. And I'm here to talk about 3 great family and events that focus on our children that are taking place this summer at the library. The first comes this Saturday, where we have our kickoff to summer reading. I have summer brochures to pass out to the commissioners that talk about all of our programming, but we are bringing in marine biologist and science communicator from Shark Week, Carly Jackson, who has written several children's books. We are doing this as truly a community event. I know several of the commissioners have participated in the past. We're starting out with the doors open at 10:30. Carly, who is a marine biologist who has written these 2 children's books that are here, which will be given out for free to the children at this event, will be having an hour-long presentation. This is going to be followed by a barbecue put on by the, I'm going to do it wrong, help me, Angela, Upsilon, Omicron Lambda. Okay, that they are putting on out in the parking lot with free hamburgers and hot dogs for children and families, and so it's a great day. We would love to have someone from the commission come and welcome our guests if anybody is free at 10:30 on Saturday morning. That is event number 1. The second is our Stream into Literacy, which is put on through a grant from the beleaguered Florida Humanities, which has very little money left, but was able to put together this. We are doing weekly book bags for children aged 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 8 to 10, and for teenagers that offer a bag and a free book that they sign up for weekly reading that they can take home, build reading logs, and stop the summer slide. We are very proud of that, and I also want to say that the event this Saturday was through a grant that we received from the Palm Beach Boat Show Association. And last, we are a feeding site for Summer Break Spot, Monday to Friday through the end of July. All children up to age 18 can receive a free lunch between 11:30 and 12:30 and a snack between 2 and 4. And we're here, and thanks to the city, we're getting the word out to the community. So, 26 seconds to go.
Thank you very much.
She just reminded me of what it's due next week.
Montre Bennett, 323 Northwest 2nd Avenue. I want to say thank y'all because y'all got some traction going on at the cemetery. I would like to hear about what's going on with this mausoleum. And a suggestion with the mausoleum, maybe y'all need to create a mausoleum that holds cremations. Yeah, that's my suggestion for that. We can still hear the music from downtown Delray on Northwest 2nd Avenue. So until y'all make this all one Delray and make it all entertainment, look, y'all got to deal with all that noise because we want to survive. We want to party too, and we just don't want to go down east of Swinton. We want to have our vibes west of Swinton too. So if you're going to live on 11th Avenue, guess what? That's entertainment district. So take it how it comes and how it is. I had so much other stuff today, but she threw me off with that groove stuff. But you know you can't reply back here while you up there doing public comments. You gotta wait till a later date. Do what y'all supposed to do. I'm just here wasting time now. Oh, thank y'all for who voted for me in the competition. I came in the quarterfinals in 10th place. I did not make it no farther than that. Unfortunately, it's all about money, so it is what it is. I want to say Commissioner Burns mentioned something last meeting about saving the taxpayers money on this water tower. So when y'all get that lawsuit, use it to benefit the people and not the city, but the people. It's all about the people. Y'all work for us, nobody else but for us, because we stay here, we live here, we pay taxes. I'm gonna waste time. Whatever people come up here and tell y'all to say, do, it's for them, it's for us. and we just want to live in Delray. We ain't going nowhere. Thank y'all for Rock the Block. Me and my son participated, and we was in Ponciana Heights, and we just helping people to preserve their homes, get them a fresh coat of paint, and help them live here even longer. We been here. I've been since 1987, and guess what? I ain't going nowhere, and y'all can't push me out. And I'm always speaking public comments and use my 3 minutes to the best of my abilities. And I still want my feedback and information back about the mausoleum when y'all find time. Thanks.
I need to say one thing, Montre. When a commissioner is speaking up here, it's not up to you to judge whether or not commission.
It's in the rules.
It doesn't. It's up to the chair.
It's a rule.
It's up to the chair. That's called Robert's rules. Those are the rules.
That's the policy.
Please.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's Marjorie Waldo from Arts Garage. I brought you a packet of information. If it's okay if I pass it, would that be okay, ladies? I'm so sorry. Well, let me start real quick before they get the timer working. Today, I have information for you from the Florida Cultural Alliance, one of the many agencies that provides information and support to arts organizations in Florida. One of the pieces of the packet is Daniel Perez, the House Speaker's budget conference update from May 30th. There's also Senator Ben Albright's update from May 30th. Both gentlemen mentioned the already negotiated agreement between the Senate and the House, which includes $2.25 billion in recurring revenue reductions. My question that has yet to be answered is, where does those dollars come from? Where do we replace them? They include the elimination of the business rent tax at $900 million, a permanent sales tax exemption at $350 million, debt reduction at $250 million, and raising the budget stabilization fund from 10 to 25%. Neither memo details how tourist development taxes or bed taxes may be spent. The session aims to finish by June 16th. I'll believe it when I see it. We know that House Bill 7033, I did not copy it for you because it's 138 pages, removes the requirement for tourist development councils or county tourist promotion agencies. This is from the House. It includes a voter referendum where we have to vote to make sure that we can keep charging this tax to tourists, not to ourselves. Any tourist development council created before July 1st, 2025 shall be dissolved by the end of the calendar year. I gave up on page 79 out of 138. I figured out the search and find in the Senate Bill 7034. It was indefinitely postponed and withdrawn from consideration on May 3rd. Prior, the language of the bill was much more favorable to tourist development councils. To be clear, bed taxes help market our beaches, our sports venues, and our art and cultural organizations. To be even more straightforward, the loss of the bed tax revenue would be devastating to organizations like Arts Garage, $200,000 for us alone. Please consider using the letter drafts in your packets, which I am happy to email you. You can copy and paste, add your own opinion if you wish. I've also included a list of the conference committee members, which they hope to finish with this week from both houses that would benefit, for whom your voice matters. Arts Garage needs your support now more than ever, and I hope you will all stand with us as we continue to shine a spotlight on exactly how impactful arts and culture are in our community. And with my last couple of seconds, I got another update while I was waiting to come up for public speaking. So they are moving rapidly now, but it is not too late to email, and I'd really love it if you'd support what we do.
Thank you very much. You made it by 3 seconds.
Thanks.
Good evening.
No, I'm doing it. I'm just.
Need the old-fashioned clock.
Go ahead. We got you. You just wasted 2 seconds.
Sorry, Laura Simon, Downtown Development Authority. I'll talk real fast. No, good evening, everyone. It is summer. We're kicking off summer. Obviously, June 1st, and the clouds opened up with the rain. So, welcome to June. We have kicked off our summer campaign, which is Love Delray. So it's a time for us to love on our residents and visitors, as well as love on our businesses. And we've launched a savings pass, which is exciting for everyone in the community to download. We have over 65 businesses participating, and it's Feel Good Summer, so it's a wellness theme. So I'll pass these out. I left some out here in the foyer. It's also First Friday Art Walk, so again, supports our art and cultural venues as well as our art and cultural venue businesses with First Friday Art Walk, which is the first Friday of every month. I have these as well. So also just wanted to congratulate the city. We won in Florida's #1 beach award by USA Today for the second time. So congratulations. And we were on the front page of the Palm Beach Post this morning. So congrats on that. And just again, we at the Downtown Development Authority, we are really programming this summer to really invite our locals back downtown and really help kind of bridge that gap to be more of a robust summer versus a really slow time. So please do that. And also just want to support the Davis Cup. We met today with the USTA. They're doing their press conference next week. And it really be a great time because it is in September. And I'm really happy that the city is welcoming them back again, because it really will help us. It's definitely a very slow time, and we're hoping to incorporate it with our jazz on the avenue and have some other great things happening as well. So with that, just thank you, and I'll be back up under some of the hearings as well. So
Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Odell. I'm here representing Changing Lives of Delray. We actually do compassionate care gathering as well, located in Delray on 100 Linton, East Linton. We do a lot of things for the community. On Saturday mornings, we actually have assistance for at-risk families, homeless children. We offer mentoring, food stamp application, free phones. We actually do health screenings, help with health insurance, clothing for men, women, and children, mental health, things of that nature as well. We also give Cars and Coffee of Delray, which is now every third Sunday of every month. So what we do is we raise funds. We make it exciting for the community by having exotic cars, custom cars. If you ever want to come out with your custom car, anything like that, your trucks, bikes, it's a car community. So what we do is we have them come out. We have vendors. We offer Raising Cane's. It's one of our sponsors. So we offer Raising Cane's to all the patrons that come out. So you're going to have some lunch after the show. It's from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. every third Sunday of the month. It's at Atlantic Square off of Jog and Atlantic. So we also offer Dunkin' Donuts as well. They sponsor us as well. So we have, donuts, coffee for the fathers, for the mothers, for the families. We have vendors as well that comes out. So anyone in the community, if you have a business and you want to put a vendor booth up, if you want to come out every third Sunday, you can set up your vendor booth, promote your business. So it builds the city of Delray. So it brings business to the businesses in Delray. And so basically we just wanted to let you guys know what we're offering. We spoke with the mayor before, with Miss Inez. Yeah, so we're still doing that every third Sunday. So that's Cars and Coffee of Delray. You can look it up on Instagram if you want to come out with your business anytime. And then also if anyone needs assistance, we do the compassionate care at the Church of Palms right on Swinton. So if anyone needs any type of assistance, please come out. And that's pretty much it.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission. I'm here to speak about the ongoing discussions between the PBA and the city.
Mr. Cannon, you need to introduce your name and address.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Moore. Thank you. Paul Cannon, 1021 East Heritage Club. I prepared a lengthy speech, but I've decided not to give it this evening. Nancy did a pretty good job of saying everything that I was going to say. And you can read all about it in the City Watch blog that Randy Schultz put out earlier today. I've got one very simple ask, and that is, I want you guys, please, put your politics aside, let's put the toxicity aside. Let's get everybody in the room. Let's have a conclave. Let's figure this out. And don't come out of that room until you've got a settlement. And let's do it while we still have a police department. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm keeping your time.
Okay. Okay.
Name and address for the record, please.
I'm John Harris. I'm not a resident, but I lived here before. I live in Boca. But first of all, I want to thank you, Mayor Carney, and the Commission for the proclamation for National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And it's every year. We honor a young lady named Hamilton Pendleton, she was a student in Chicago, Illinois, and she was shot and killed a week after President Obama's second inauguration in Chicago, and she was only 15 years old. Sorry for the noise. Soon after her death, her friends complimented her life by wearing orange, the color of hunters hunters wear woods to protect themselves. And what we do every year is we celebrate her life and also the 125 people that are shot and killed by guns every day. And I did say every day. I didn't say every week. I said every day. What we do is the mayor and City Commission signed this proclamation that on June 6th is National Gun Violence Awareness Day to wear orange. And we also have various events around the country. There's an event in West Palm Beach this weekend. You can check it out via, you can text the word orange to 6433 and put in like a zip code in Palm Beach County, and then the event will come up. It's in West Palm Beach. It's going to be a rally, a walk, and also other activities in Gaines Park in West Palm Beach. That's on Saturday. And also, I was listening to what the argument about on Atlantic on Northwest 4th Avenue, excuse me. I have done many DoorDash. I do that's like a side job, the DoorDash, and yeah, I don't really do a lot after 10 because I consider that being time where things like that could happen. And unfortunately, being a person in the biz, I understand they're trying to make a living. They need to make a living.
30 seconds.
Okay, they need to make a living, but they have to be respectful of the people that pay the amount of rent or whatever to live in those homes and try to get some sleep. And I think they should really have to realize that and try to be courteous to those who have to get up in the morning. I mean, sleeping 3 hours, and I know the feeling 3 hours is not good, especially on the weekend. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was good. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Public comment is closed. We now go to the regular agenda items.
Could I have a point of professional courtesy?
Sure.
May I ask a favor? City Attorney, this may be a question for you. Would it be possible on our next agenda to do a little public presentation about what is going on with the negotiations and where we're at? Maybe where we started, what we're offering, and where we're at. Because when people say words like toxicity and put aside your politics with respect to what's going on here, I don't feel like that's a fair assessment of what's going on. This isn't about politics. This is about cold hard cash that we don't have. We've offered $15.3 million in increases. We're not going to get $15.3 million in revenue increases from property taxes this year. And I know, Mr. Cannon, so I understand what you're saying, and I'm not trying to take it in the wrong way. But if that's your perception, as someone knows us all personally up here, then the perception out there is probably a lot worse. And I don't like it because people are getting one side and they're not getting a full view of what we've offered these individuals and where the contract has stalled. And I would like to do a public presentation. Maybe you start with just a little exercise on what the commission's real involvement is. Like, we're not negotiators, first of all.
Okay. Your point, I agree with you.
Thank you. Maybe we can have that on the next agenda.
Because I'm hearing all this stuff too, and I mean, people don't understand what's been offered, what's been asked, and I think it's time that we do a little bit on our own. So, so we're going to try to put that as a presentation at the next.
So what we have in store for the June 17th meeting, of course, the 10th is budget. June 17th, we do have a follow-up workshop regarding the education piece that we've committed to offering. That should be fairly succinct given the work we've accomplished in that regard. So
What I'm saying is, I'm not positive that we can't add it to the workshop that we're going to be doing for next week.
That's where I'm going
take
next.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
And you just make a presentation, let everybody know where we are, what the different positions are, and
So-
why they are in their positions.
very well. So
As
what
a
we can
just as a factual
Right.
exercise.
And then
without-
when they give
no,
input,
no.
it will be with all the information.
Yeah, I don't want to
Yes,
inject
ma'am.
politics in. I don't want to inject. I mean, I want just as a factual thing where we are. So let give everyone an update. So just hearing it in comments, it's and depending on who's making the comment, it's a different. Could have a
Thank you,
different
Okay,
result.
so if I may, ladies and gentlemen,
Good idea.
we can facilitate this for June 10th. We just publicized the agenda, of which there's a privately initiated land development consideration in addition to the proposed budget workshop, preliminary budget workshop considerations, which actually touches this particular subject. So
Just asking for 5 minutes.
No, it's fine, we're just talking. It's really
Whatever
that's
it's
where I'm
going
going.
to take you to put the presentation on. 10 minutes maybe max.
it will be the very first item to get it out of the way is what I'm suggesting for June 10th. So, Madam City Clerk, you and I will convene tomorrow as we engage executive leadership team in preparation for the 17th. However, this will be the 10th. We will amend the recently distributed workshop meeting agenda for 1 week from today
Thank you.
to include this as item 1. So I'll
we're
work
all-
with all involved to get to that
We're in
place to
agreement
create a
on all this, everyone?
presentation.
Yeah, we're all in agreement.
Yes.
Okay, just
So
a-
4
just a
o'clock,
factual
June
presentation,
10th,
not-
first item, followed by the education piece, followed by the privately initiated land amendment, and then the budget workshop session.
Fine.
Thank you
Perfect.
all. I
We're done.
appreciate that
You're
consideration.
welcome. Good suggestion.
Thank you.
All right, so we're now on regular agenda item 7A. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. We
Mayor.
actually have,
Mayor. We gotta do consent.
Consent agenda. Motion to approve.
oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to pull something from consent.
Oh, I thought we were supposed to
We
do that
already
in
did
the
that, but
beginning.
if you want to, if you, with,
I missed it, my apologies,
leave it the
but
chair, go ahead.
I'd like to pull item 6L2, which is the proclamation.
6 who?
6L2.
L2? I don't see a 6L2.
I don't see 6L2.
Oh, I'm sorry, 6M2. My apologies.
6M2, proclamation, LBG Pride Month. Okay, we're putting it for, it's already been approved, so what,
I wanted to read it into the record. I think it's important.
it's your prerogative.
It is.
And we all agree, right? We're amending we're going to amend the agenda to pull that, so that's fine. So I need a motion to approve. So we're going to make that 7AA, right?
Yes, 7A.
Okay, 7AA. So I need a motion to approve the consent agenda
As amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Fine, here we go. All right, we're now on 7AA, so I'm going to save my quasi-judicial speech.
Right, and just a brief explanation. I'm doing this because I believe symbols matter, especially when they follow actions that send the wrong message. And so I think it's important that because of what happened, I won't go into detail, it reminds us all that visibility, inclusion, and affirmation still matter. So I'm going to briefly read over our Pride Proclamation for Pride Month. Whereas Delray Beach has a diverse LGBTQ community that includes people of all ethnicities, religions, and professions, and whereas everyone should be able to live without fear of prejudice, discrimination, violence, and hatred-based race, religion, gender identity, or sexual orientation, and whereas the month of June was designated Pride Month to commemorate Stonewall riots, which occurred 56 years ago on June 28, 1969, and is recognized as the catalyst of the LGBTQ rights movement, and whereas the city of Delray Beach remains committed to protecting the civil rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer communities, and whereas the rainbow flag has been used as a symbol of LGBTQ pride and LGBTQ social movements, whereas it is essential to acknowledge the need for education and that awareness remains vital to end discrimination and prejudice, whereas celebrating Pride Month provides support and advocacy for the LGBTQ community, and it is an opportunity to take action and engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances and build acceptance. And now, therefore, I, Thomas Carney, Jr., Mayor of Delray Beach, Florida, on behalf of the City of Delray Beach, hereby declare the month of June as LGBTQ Pride Month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Need a motion to approve? Right, don't it's an agenda item, so actually we don't really need one, So, sorry, it's proclamations into the record.
So
fine.
moved.
Okay, well,
Second.
If we need to.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great.
Thank
I signed
you.
it already. We're now going to the regular agenda items 7A and 7A, 7B, and 7C, all of which are quasi-judicial hearings. I'm going to read the quasi-rules. Then I'm going to ask any of you who are planning to speak on any of these three items to stand up and get sworn by the clerk. These hearings shall be conducted in accordance with quasi-judicial rules. The applicant and the city shall be allowed 15 minutes each to present their case. The public shall be allowed to speak for 3 minutes each, or a maximum of 6 minutes, if the person represents an organization or a group of people who are present but agree not to speak. The city commission and staff and the applicant may be allowed to cross-examine a witness. The city or the applicant will be allowed to offer rebuttal testimony. The decision to approve or deny an application or appeal may not be legally made upon personal views as to whether a project is a good project or not, nor may a decision be based on the numbers of citizens who support or oppose a particular project. The law requires that all decisions must be made on the basis of whether the project meets the requirements of law, the comprehensive plan, and the land development regulations. So all of you, anybody wishing to speak on these three items, if you could please stand and be sworn by the clerk.
By the authority vested in me as a notary of the state of Florida, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
Right. I'm going to ask for the disclosure of ex parte communications on an item by item basis. So for the purposes of this question, item 7A, it is, you want to read the regulation, and we're going to then ask whether or not there's been any ex parte conversations.
So 7A has two resolutions, resolution number 94-25, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, approving a waiver to section 4.4.13D1B1B of the Land Development Regulations to allow an awning to encroach into the front setback 9 feet 7 inches, whereas the maximum allowable encroachment is 4 feet for the project located at 20 Northeast First Street, as more particularly described herein, providing for an effective date and for other purposes. Resolution number 93-25, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, approving a request to utilize a contemporary, oh wait, that's not, sorry, just, I thought there were two for 7A. Sorry, I read the wrong one, my apologies. Resolution
None of us
number
noticed.
9525.
9525. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, approving a waiver to section 4.4.13E2A1 of the Land Development Regulations to reduce the width of the curb zone to 0 feet for a portion of the streetscape for the project located at 220 Northeast First Street, as more particularly described herein, providing for an effective date and further purposes.
Right, the clerk and I put that in there to confuse you, just because we knew you would just.
Something.
There
And
you
I
go,
fell
it's like a
for it.
teleprompter. Are there any ex parte communications from the?
Applicant's representative, and whatever might be on the server that was provided.
Applicant's representative, and whatever is on the server.
I'm going to say the same, applicant, representatives, and attorneys, and.
Absolutely the same.
Okay.
Ditto.
All right. If you could please read the file into the record.
Good evening, Anthea Geniotis, Development Services Director, and I'd like to enter file 2025-090 into the record.
Perfect. You're on.
All right, good evening. For the record, my name is Christina Belenke. My address is 14 Southeast 4th Street in Boca Raton. It's a pleasure to be here this evening representing Investments Limited and American Social on the waiver requests. So the property is highlighted in the red box on your screen, is generally located south of Northeast 1st Street and east of Northeast 2nd Avenue. It's directly across from the Arts Garage. It is currently a vacant building that was previously the Ocean City Lumber property. And most recently, about a year ago, we actually were able to get a site plan approved for American Social, complied with the city's code requirements, so it did not come before the commission because it was permitted as a level 1 site plan. But in reviewing the site plan and compliance with all of the requirements, American Social actually came back and said, you know, from an operational standpoint, it just doesn't work from them. They really pride themselves on their outdoor dining experience. their kind of use of indoor and outdoor spaces. They really seek to create a lively environment from the street. It encourages people to both sit outside in Florida, which a lot of people love to do, and also brings people into the establishment as well. And so this is the previously approved site plan that's on your screen. Again, specifically, American Social is looking to go into the tenant space on the hard corner here. Just taking a step back, these are the existing conditions of the building to, again, put things in reference. And so our team has been working with American Social for the better part of a year, and staff has been heavily involved in those discussions to try and come up with a site plan that ultimately works for them. So we've made a few changes throughout the process that are kind of highlighted here. So first, as seen kind of where the yellow circle is, we moved the entrance from kind of the middle of the building to the corner, which allowed us to create more outdoor dining experience along Northeast 2nd Avenue and really highlight that prominent corner at that intersection. We also actually took out some of the building area, carved a outbox in there or a cove in there to create another outdoor dining experience to really, again, provide an area that is covered that will attract many people. And then we were really looking at the awnings, the dimensions for the outdoor seating areas, and that's ultimately why we're here today. So more specifically, we are here for two requests. One is a waiver for the maximum awning encroachment. We're allowed a maximum of, I think it's actually 5 feet. It says 4 feet on the screen. And we're requesting to extend out to the property line, which is about 9 feet. And then we're seeking to omit the 4-foot required curb zone only in the areas where we have existing on-street parking spaces. And so, again, just to start by putting the criteria into everybody's frame of reference, for waivers, granting waivers, it shall not adversely affect the neighboring area, shall not diminish the provision of public facilities, shall not create an unsafe situation, does not result in the grant of a special privilege, and for the CBD, it does not result in an inferior pedestrian experience, allow for the creation of significant incompatibilities, does not erode the connectivity of the street and sidewalk network, and does not reduce the quality of the civic open space. So just to put that into context to think about as we're moving forward. So with the curb zone, with the streetscape requirements, we're required to have a 4-foot curb zone, 6-foot pedestrian clear zone, and 5 feet of remaining setback, so 15 feet in total. This is the diagram from the code that basically shows that. So you can see in areas where they have on-street parking, the curb zone is taken from kind of the back of the curb of the on-street parking space. In this instance, we are providing greater than a 4-foot curb zone in the areas where we have the green. Along First Street, that curb zone is actually 7 feet or greater. And along Northeast 2nd Avenue, we have a 5-foot curb zone. And so that allows us to put all of the required street trees in, light poles, utilities. Essentially, anything we're required to do for the project can fit within those curb zones provided in the green. We do have our 6-foot pedestrian clear zone kind of in that pink area that runs at a straight parallel line along First Street and then again along 2nd Avenue. And then we have our remaining setback area, which exceeds 5 feet in this instance, and that would be where we would have our sidewalk cafe essentially. So that's where the outdoor seating would be provided. And so even in the areas where we're not providing the curb zone, we're still meeting that 15-foot requirement. but we're essentially seeking to eliminate the curb zone because we can provide for all the necessary street trees and utilities in the green spaces provided already. So the waiver for the streetscape is specific to those areas where we have the yellow, and only those areas. And again, part of this is because it is an existing building. It was built in the 1970s, I believe. It's been around for quite some time. If this was a new development, it would obviously be a little bit of a different situation. We could maneuver building lines a little bit more easily, but in this instance, we're working with the existing structure and trying to bring some life to this dark corner that is kind of the missing link to Pineapple Grove. Again, just to kind of highlight, this is the proposed streetscape dimensions for 2nd Avenue. So we have 6-foot pedestrian clear zone, 9-foot remaining setback. And along First Street, we have our 6-foot pedestrian clear zone, and again, 9 feet wide front setback. Okay, in terms of the awning encroachment, so we are allowed an awning encroachment, I believe it's 4 feet into the setback, but that basically allows for only a very shallow awning. If you picture a storefront, which is the architectural style that we're utilizing along the street, if you think about a retail store, they might have a small awning like that, which would cover their entrance, provide a little bit of, architectural detail, but really does not provide much more of a function than that. We're really seeking to provide some substantial coverage to the outdoor seating areas, provide for an area where we can hang TVs and have them be protected, hang chandeliers or interesting lighting features, and again, really create that life within the pedestrian environment. And so again, rather than providing a 4 to 5 foot awning, we're proposing a canopy that would extend to the property line, which is a maximum of 9 feet 7 inches. And essentially that's the area that's highlighted in blue. That's where the canopy would be proposed. And so you can see the top image is the awning that was previously approved, and that is what is permitted by the city's code. In this instance, it was a fabric awning. Again, does not provide for much coverage or much protection from the elements, whereas on the bottom we have the wider canopy that provides a lot more protection for those enjoying the outdoor seating areas. Here you have a couple of the architectural details or elevations that show that canopy from a few different angles. And that's really it. So our team is here to answer any questions. I'm happy to answer any questions you may also have this evening, and I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. To the city.
Okay. Let's try it again. There we go. Okay. I'll give them a second to pull our presentation up. There we go. And I'll try to go quickly over the parts where the presentations align. Specifically, the address is 220 Northeast 1st. This is in the downtown core. It's proposed to be a restaurant. It's directly across the street from the old square garage on the corner. This is a level 1 site plan. The larger issue of it transferring into a restaurant and dealing with the parking, that was already resolved a while ago. So what's before you now are 2 distinct waivers. One related to what is a structural awning. So just to be clear, this isn't a fabric awning that's sort of attached to the building and could be taken on or off, or the color changed, things like that you traditionally see downtown. This is a structural awning, which is allowed to encroach, just like a lot of overhangs and other things for buildings up to 4 feet. However, it's coupled with a minimum projection of 5 feet, which in this case, given that it's an existing building and it's positioned sort of in a non-conforming way, is part of what you're seeing there. And then an alleviation of the curb zone. So this is the LDR section that says roof eaves, awnings, and balconies can encroach in the setback a maximum of 4 feet. So what's being requested on Northeast First and Northeast Second is shifting the 4 feet to 9 feet 7 inches. So it's a pretty substantial cantilever out. Again, there are no new structural posts. It's clear underneath the awning structurally to provide shade for outdoor dining. It is important to note that the existing structure has a non-conforming setback. It's required to be a minimum of 10 feet now. This one is anywhere between 8 feet to 9 feet 7, and then the corner is right at the new property line with the corner clip and things like that. So the structure, to Ms. Balenki's point, we can't pick it up and move it now. It's already there. So again, there is a corner clip that's just generally required. It's going to require a hold harmless or something that will come along later, depending on the outcome of this. You'll see it on a consent agenda if they're successful with this. Okay, so let's go over the awning. Storefronts are required to have an awning that projects at least 5 feet out. This is important to have a shaded environment so that customers can walk up and see what's for sale in the windows. We're Florida, it's hot, it rains. We want to have the overhangs, even if it means that they come forward into the minimum setback. There is no maximum projection, so it's sort of limited by where your building sits, and that will let you come 4 feet into the setback if you need to. So it's not a bad thing that they're asking to do a cantilever. It's just a question of how much is the right amount and the implications of it. So the proposed structural awning covers outdoor dining. It's not necessarily shading people that are walking by, but having that outdoor space and accommodating that sort of lively environment is part of what's great about downtown. So that's something to consider. The flip side is that, you've got the clear zone provided along the full extent. It actually exceeds it. I'm going to correct you on the other street. So on First Street, the clear zone is much wider. It's 7 feet 10 inches. So they have exceeded the width that you would need to walk, which I think is important as well. However, I think what you have to think about is whether or not that space being privatized is an equal trade-off for setting up the structure of the building that allows that outdoor dining in the first place, because it will be somewhat privatized for outdoor dining for the restaurant. So that's the push and pull there. The curb zone is really the relief that they're asking for is in a way also an existing condition. So there's on-street parking directly across from Old School Square Garage, and then there's the sidewalk, and then it kind of goes into the property. What we require now is that 4 feet next to the on-street parking is a curb zone. That's where the street tree goes. That's where a parking meter, I know everyone hates them, but if there's signage, things like that could go, right? In this case, the space is already there, sort of what's existing out there. They can't back the building up anymore. So it's a question of the green and the other spaces that are already existing on the corners. Are they substantial enough to accommodate those needs so that we really don't need the 4 foot clear zone, or should some of that remaining front setback be, the sidewalk sort of slides over and is part of their property and part of the public right of way, which happens in new development. That's why you are constantly seeing pedestrian clear zone easements on your consent agenda. So that's the push and pull there. It is not asking for it around the entire perimeter. It's only where those existing on-street spaces are. And the part on First is providing ample room for new shade trees to be installed, which is also part of the project. So that is coming along. Let's see. So the waiver 2 is the minimum 15-foot total streetscape is provided, because that outdoor dining is going to be permitted through a sidewalk cafe. So if a few years from now you widen the pedestrian clear zone to 7 feet, then they would have to back the tables and chairs up. Right now it's a clear zone of 6, right? So they have the physical dimensions out there. And then there it is. So this is a little bit weird, sorry. So this is where we don't have to do this through rebuttal. Instead of 6 feet, they're 7 feet 10. So it's a really wide promenade on First. That's going to be accommodated. So it's not like they've squeezed the clear zone there. And then there's still the remaining front setback areas that you're seeing are largely going to be occupied by outdoor dining. This is an image of the building today, and so you can see there's a pretty substantial area here. We already have a light pole right in the middle of the clear zone, so the question then is whether this trade-off of accommodating spaces for lively places to outdoor dine is a reasonable trade-off, and then whether the sort of the existing streetscape and the improvements that the applicant are making, while they don't fully conform to the LDRs now, are they acceptable? And I think that's kind of where it is. For you to decide that, your findings are based on whether the waivers have an adverse effect on the neighboring area, if they're diminishing public facilities or creating anything unsafe, and if it's a special privilege or not. You also have to determine whether or not it results in an inferior pedestrian environment along a primary street, which these are, and if it's making a significant incompatibility or eroding any connectivity. And there is no civic open space under consideration. The property doesn't have one here, so that's not one that you need to consider. This did go to the Downtown Development Authority, who recommended approval 5-0, and the Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval of both waivers 4-0 at the May 19th meeting. I hope that made sense. We can go back over anything that you would like, but that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Now I'm opening this up to public comment. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this presentation, on this item? Mr. Long. Missed your comments, so I was afraid that,
George Long, 46 North Swinton. Right now, that walk from the Arts Garage to the railroad on the right side there is boring as hell. We need to put something there that looks good. And also, keep in mind that at some point we might have a tri-rail station there. We might have people walking down that street. And I want them to see something like that cafe look and like Atlantic Avenue there. Make it attractive. Go with it.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak on this matter? Then public comment is closed. Are there any rebuttal or other additional things?
No.
Cross-examination of Mr. Long or anyone? Okay.
Nope, loved it. Thank you.
Well, then, seeing that, then discussion by the commission. Julie Casal.
Sure. No, I support this. I spoke to our staff, and my only concern at the outset was if this awning was taking away the space underneath it. And my understanding, this doesn't take away any of the resident space necessarily. You won't be seating all the way out to the awning. Right? No.
They're going to be seating all the way out to the awning. They are maintaining 6 foot clear and then 7
beyond. I'm
street.
sorry, forgive me, because
Right.
I thought when we spoke this morning that you had indicated.
No, they're in their property line.
They're still inside their line.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's I think what we're saying.
Exactly.
They're not
And-
in the public right of way.
Got it. That was what
Yes.
forgive me. So I support this.
Commissioner Burns.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I'm in support of it. I don't see that it is diminishing the area, and they have the physical dimensions that are needed, not in all areas, but more in some areas. So I'll be in support of it as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Markford.
Yeah, I'm very much in favor of this. Mr. Long, I appreciate your comments. I want to be you when I grow up. Put that out there. But I think this looks beautiful, and I think that's an area, Pineapple Grove, that is ready for some improvement, and I think this is a great project. I think it looks great.
Thank you.
Commissioner Long.
I think Mr. Long said it best, that the area is boring as hell right now, and so I'm hoping that we might be distantly related, by the way, Mr. Long. I mean, I don't know. I haven't checked. But no, I mean, that's kind of the I don't know, the entry point into Pineapple Grove, and it'd be great to have a connector there. But I'm glad the applicant kind of pushed back and insisted on doing a more aesthetic version of this with a more structural awning. I think it's going to provide way more shade. It looks way better. This is just one of those examples where like waivers are a good thing, So thank you. I'm definitely in support.
When I travel, I like to go to places and and the hustle and bustle of these outdoor cafes really adds such a different dimension and feel to the neighborhood. And I think that this is one of those ones. The 6 feet will be enough. You'll have a little hustle and bustle there on the pavement and sidewalk. I think this is a great addition, and I'm delighted to support both waivers. I think when finished, it's going to be a significant little piece of Delray that's going to go there. I'm very happy with it because I think it's, like Mr. Long said, it's been a long time coming, and I'm very happy that it's going to finally come. So I need a motion to approve
resolution number 94-25.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, no,
Aye.
it's
Do you want to do all in favor?
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Margaret?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long?
Yes.
Commissioner Cassell?
Yes.
Deputy Vice Mayor Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Carney?
Yes.
Motion
To
passed.
approve resolution number 9525.
Second.
Call the roll.
Vice Mayor Long?
Yes.
Commissioner Cassell?
Yes.
Deputy Vice Mayor Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Carney?
Yes.
Commissioner Margaret?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
Definitely appreciate the support.
Make sure to invite us all to the open.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Mayor, before we move on, I just want to make a quick comment on it, like a concept that we should maybe just think about for the future, which is in areas like this, we're right across from a parking garage. Maybe we could strategically start to reduce some of this parallel parking. I think we need to maybe think in terms of doing a better job of balancing the pedestrian experience with the driver experience in Delray. And removing some of these parallel spots that are superfluous does help with traffic. It gives us more space for tree canopy. It gives us more space for sidewalk, and that's that sort of activation that we talked about. I'm not saying I didn't want to bring that up during this because I don't want to muddle the issue. I'm just saying in general, I think it's something we should
I actually
be
brought
considering.
that up to them. I said, well,
Yeah,
I actually thought it was a good idea to get rid of those spots.
we don't
but
need
I
'em
never
there.
want to be the one mentioning we want to get.
I know,
we want to get rid of
I know,
any
I
parking
parked there.
spots. So
I mean, I use them too because I get my hair cut over there. But like,
It's a sacred
I
cow.
could park in the garage and walk. You know. So I'm just pitching it as a concept we should maybe consider with some stuff like this.
Point taken. Point taken. Okay. 7B, Resolution 9325. I'm going to ask anyone here who wishes to speak on this. You've already been sworn, so if you haven't been sworn, now I need to ask ex parte communications.
Yes, spoke with the applicant's representative and whatever may be on the server and the staff.
Ms. Byrne?
Spoke with Mr. Sheeler.
Yes, the same with me?
Same with me.
Yeah, I spoke with Mr. Schiller.
Very good. Okay. If you could please enter the file into the record.
Good evening, Anthea Janiotis, Development Services Director, and I'd like to enter file 2024-104 into the record.
Great.
Mayor, do you want me to read the caption?
Yes, please read the caption.
Resolution number 9325, a resolution of the City Commission of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, approving a request to utilize a contemporary functionalism architectural style for the project located at 109 Southeast Fifth Avenue, is more particularly described herein, providing an effective date and further purposes.
Great. Thank you very much. Mr. Schiller.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Neil Schiller, Government Law Group, 137 Northwest 1st Avenue, here today representing the applicant, who I would like to give a minute to so he can introduce himself to you all.
I only need 17 seconds. Jerry Batoff, a developer. I've done about several hundred projects in my lifetime, the last 35 years. And the one thing I'm proud of is that every development I've done is with pretty much full community support, pretty much with government support, because I take every comment and every word seriously to try to make the best project I can. And I'm proud of every single one I've done, and I'm proud of this project as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jerry. So we're just going to jump into it. We're here for an alternate design style. Is it working?
You mean you didn't bring the big things you could hold up?
I can do it by memory if you want.
Like when you were campaigning.
Yeah.
Do you want me to just...
Like I did when I had
Like you carried the boards.
my props when my
They
carrying
were
my boards. I
effective.
know.
Look at
All right,
you.
yes. All right, maybe it was broken. So we're here to approve an alternate architectural style in the city called contemporary functionalism for a new multifamily residential project at 109 Southeast Fifth Avenue. Your code, section 4.413F.3.c, provides some direction to use new architectural styles. And there are three criteria that the commission and the lower board is to look at. A description including images of a documented and substantiated Florida vernacular architecture, written justification of the appropriateness of the style for downtown Delray Beach, and an explanation including graphics demonstrating how the building design follows the proposed style. So we're proposing contemporary functionalism. Contemporary style and functionalism style. Contemporary style is an architectural trend that focuses on innovation and functionality, as well as the set of current architectural styles that are more flexible and adaptable to new technologies. Contemporary style is a broad and consistently or constantly evolving term that refers to the architecture of a given moment, while functionalism is a form that becomes logical consequences of an internal and external functions and a clear reading of the function of the building. Facades and volumes contain predetermined composition-based building use. The expression is emphasized by the use of simple forms, modern materials, and minimal adornment, which also proposes elements that minimize climate impact. So the three main principles are firmatus, utilitatis, and venestatis. I did not go to architecture school. I did not, and I probably butchered that. Well, it's now on the record.
Jesuit education, we had Latin.
Excellent. Anyway, you can see what they mean. I had no Latin in law school. I went to University of Miami. We took different classes.
We need to give him a little more time.
It's okay. I'm fine. I'm fine. So you see the three main principles. We can move to what I've done here is found some other styles, other examples of the style in South Florida, and I've given you a cheat sheet on the left, which are characteristics of contemporary functional style. Building design based on a building's function and its purpose. Emphasizes practical use over decorative elements. Visible expression of functionality as well as materials and structure. Simplicity and efficiency of minimal ornamentation, use of modern materials, use of expansive fenestration for natural light, a tripartite composition including a base, middle, and top, and response to climatic considerations. So this is Metronomic Place in Coconut Grove, displaying almost all of those different characteristics of contemporary style. They have a tripartite composition, use of modern materials. There is visual expression of functionality. You see a lot of awnings and shade being created by this building. We think that is an excellent example. Second example is 2005 Calais Drive in Miami Beach, Florida. Similarly, you can see how the building design is based on its functions. A residential building has three distinct layers of base, middle, and a top. Use of modern materials, lots of fenestration for light being used, and a response to climatic considerations. You can see the use of balconies and the rooftop. 4098 Northeast 167th Street in North Miami Beach. Again, similar characteristics. Building design is based on the function. Emphasizes a practical use over decorative elements. There's very minimal ornamentation in all of these buildings. It's a visible expression of functionality, materials, and structure. Simple and efficiency with minimal ornamentation, use of materials, tripartite composition, and again, you can see the response to climatic considerations as being on the water. Then we look at Max Strang's home in Coconut Grove. And the reason I added this is because Troy McMullen of Architectural Digest said that this home, 85 square foot home in Coconut Grove, exemplifies contemporary functionalism. The residence features a rectangular and sculptural exterior utilizing materials like board foam concrete and wood-like aluminum louvers. Inside, natural materials and an open layout create a seamless flow. You can read the rest. But this is Architectural Digest, one of the preeminent architectural magazines and authorities in the industry. Then we have 1111 Lincoln Road. Obviously, this has elements of a functional style. Then we wanted to point this out. So Edwin Heathcourt of the Financial Times says that this is an avant-garde parking structure. However, you can see the expressive use, how the form and function of the building dictates its use. Again, this is not what we're proposing, but it does show element of the contemporary functionalist style. And then last one, again from Architectural Digest, J. Michael Weldon says about the Toledo Island residence by Brillhart Architecture in Miami Beach that it integrates seamlessly with its surroundings. The residence features 2 pools, a reflecting pool and an infinity pool. Natural materials like white oak flooring and teak louvers contribute to the home's harmonious connection with nature. Similar, which exemplifies not only functionalist principles, but contemporary functionalist principles. So we have provided a written justification of appropriateness of the style for downtown Delray Beach. Again, we have Delray's existing architectural traditions are steeped in low to mid-rise structures. Again, this is what we're proposing here. I'm going to forego all that text on the page. I really want to highlight in green what we wrote in our justification statement, because I really think that goes to the core of contemporary functionalism. Respects the rules of the city, but interprets them with a modern language and its forms, materials and textures can contextualize with the neighborhood. I mean, that is really, you could talk about a lot of architectural styles in Delray Beach, and this would be the next one. So we looked at neighborhood context, which we wanted to do. Here's the subject property with our proposed architecture. Then we moved to 190 Southeast 5th Avenue, the Caspian. Again, you see a tripartite construction, use of simple geometric forms, use of fenestration and windows on the lower level, and we think this, again, this is just down the block from the subject property. Further south is 135 Southeast 6th Avenue, the courtyard. Again, tripartite construction, use of modern materials, response to climatic considerations with the arcade and the awnings, not awnings, but balconies providing shade, as well as the rooftop. And then you have 318 Southeast 5th Avenue, a residential building, multi-use residential building that was approved recently, maybe about a year ago by staff as our Site 1, Level 1. But again, this architecture also shows a tripartite composition, a base, a middle, and a top, use of modern materials, use of look glass, fenestration, and simple geometric forms. And then lastly, everyone's favorite project, Atlantic Crossing at 777 East Atlantic Avenue, just a little north and east of our project. And again, similar concept, tripartite composition, response to climatic considerations, use of balconies, and balconies not only to provide access to the outdoors, but shade to the lower levels. Now I'd like to call up Peggy Fitzgerald, an architect, who will go through the explanation, including graphs demonstrating how the building design follows the proposed style. Do you want me to click for you?
No, I'll
You click for yourself.
Well, he took the words out of my mouth. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I am Peggy Fitzgerald from Net Architects to provide your explanation. So our design expresses the use of the building with minimal ornamentation through its form and geometry rather than many decorative elements. This is the list of characteristics that Mr. Schiller went through previously in the other examples. So our building has several ways it expresses its functionality. In the delineated entrance here, as well as the expansive glass on the ground floor, those delineate the public areas of the lobby and amenities. The large vertical, this light doesn't work. The large vertical piece in the center expresses the vertical circulation of the building, and the uses of the terraces on the middle levels show the living areas of the units. It's not really working.
Let me try.
Oh.
There you go. I'll stand close.
Okay, yeah.
Two-person job.
So this,
4 minutes.
so the simple geometric forms of the facade provide an efficient design. Several of them are called out here, but pretty much the entire composition is made up of these simple geometric forms. Okay, the structure is expressed through recognizable elements. Columns are delineated, and the consistency of framed openings create an order and an efficiency to the layout. They also create a rhythm and flow through the facade. As you can see, the use of modern materials. We have a concrete mass, which is has a stucco finish, a smooth stucco finish. Expansive glass is used to sort of lighten the mass of the structure. And we've also incorporated some simple wood elements to elevate the design, as this is also a material that has been introduced more recently in some of the Del Rey CBD newer developments. As is required in all the design styles in the CBD, our design does have the tripartite composition, distinctive base, middle, and top.
2 minutes.
Okay. So the glass in the units bring in natural light into the units as well as into the lobby space, which is also connects those spaces to the outside and activates the pedestrian zone outside the building. And the climate consideration, there's many outdoor spaces for the units to have access to outside as well as balconies over the terraces to provide shade. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Thanks, Peggy. Just want to conclude our presentation with some 3D renderings of the architecture. Here is really the main rendering. You can see the tripartite construction, the use of glass and modern materials, responsiveness to climate considerations, and all the other characteristics that we talked about. This is another portion of the project, which again, you see the same characteristics. Board considerations, I just want to remind you that the Planning and Zoning Board did recommend 4-2 this architectural style, and we ask for your vote tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. To the city.
Okay, and the engineer is also a UM graduate, but from the School of Architecture. And with me is Rafiq Ibrahim, too, who has an extensive experience with this as well. Okay, so the goal here is to provide a decision related to the architectural design so that the ultimate larger site plan can be finalized and move forward. This is the site. The existing buildings will be demolished adjacent properties that surround this. While there are certainly more modern styles that Mr. Schiller presented, there are others as well. So the proposal is a 4-story, 26-unit residential development, and they are requesting to utilize a style they are calling contemporary functionalism, and this planning board voted 4-2 to recommend approval of this. But I think it's important that we take a look back to how we got here and whether it is time to maybe have larger discussions about this, which we can talk about separately after you hear this and decide this case. So the architectural design guidebooks, guidelines, were brought in conjunction with a code rewrite in 2015. I was the consultant at the time serving the city. I was not on staff. And that effort included 40 one-on-one interviews with people downtown, and we held over 15 public meetings. It wasn't just about style, it was also about the streetscape standards that you're looking at and the setbacks and some other things. But at that point, after that public effort of what is the Village by the Sea supposed to look like, ultimately we landed on 7 styles. I have 2 twos in there apparently. with Masonry Modern being, I think, the most controversial. At the time, the city had just approved the Caspian and some of the more modern languages coming out of the ground. Atlantic Crossing was taking shape, and there was some dissatisfaction with that. And so this is how we got here. These aren't styles that Rafik and Anthea deemed appropriate. They were defined by the city through a pretty extensive public process. So Main Street vernacular, the code book defines sort of universal truths about what these different styles look like. Sunday Village is coming in under the Anglo-Caribbean, which is also consistent with the period of significance in OSHAD. There's, the Mediterranean Revival, Florida vernacular. I think it's also important to note that when you look at these styles, they are purposely broad. So the Mediterranean Revival, you could do a very sober mission version of it, or you could do a much more ornate Meisner type of execution. They're meant to be broad so that they can sort of just capture these groupings of different ways of detailing those languages. Over time, we have had a dissatisfaction with Art Deco and Masonry Moderns more, I think specifically, I know Mr. Commissioner Long has said, aren't we taking this out more than once? And so in an effort to sort of say, well, okay, maybe if we just increase the review around those styles, that the execution of them will improve, which is why we moved it to commission approval before somebody's invested a lot of money in their site plans. I don't think that's working anymore either, given the last meeting we had. So anyway, these are the different architectures that engendered sort of the last look at this. And some of the examples that Mr. Schiller presented were the very buildings that engendered bringing in style guidelines. So I don't know that they support departing from them even more. At any rate, the code does allow for this. This was a release valve. I remember during the public sessions, it was very much like, well, if somebody wanted to come in and build a Gaudi-esque, looking like a sand sculpture, we wouldn't be able to do it. And so there was this release valve put in that if you brought something in that was appropriate to the Florida environment, right? That it's hot, it rains here, we need overhangs and shade, and we all agree that it's appropriate for our downtown, that there would be a way to depart. To date, you have approved the Ray Hotel, which utilized the Sewell Biggs house with the floating sort of Sarasota School of Architecture for a tropical modernism, and there was a MIMO approval done recently. I'm still not sure what the sushi bar was that was approved, but it was approved. So at any rate, I think the issue here is a question of whether what's even coming forward is a definable style. Mr. Schiller's own words is that it's constantly evolving, and the examples were wildly different. And so if we are going to say this is a style and engender predictability for what our residents expect to see built out downtown, that causes concern. Functionalism ultimately came in the mid 20th century during the modernist period. It was a lack of embellishment, form follows functions, minimalism, simplicity, and that structural elements are apparent in what you're doing. Here's the Biggs house right here. So again, we did have Paul Rudolph Sarasota School. There was, with the simplicity, there's UM right there, or at least it used to be. Downtown here, we have the Urban Outfitters. This was also one of the sort of stripped down versions that came in that gave the community pause that we wanted to maybe, do we want to look like this, or are we really trying to do the Seagate Hotel? It was going back and forth, that type of thing. So what you'll see in the staff report, if you look through it, is that we were trying to capture kind of what the intent was of the request. So it's supposed to focus on simplicity with minimal ornamentation, open, flexible interiors, spaces that are well integrated with the natural environment, use of sustainability and technologically advanced materials, that it's somehow adhering to these principles, and that the composition is simple and orderly, and that ultimately, the purpose of the space is evident. And so you've seen the proposed design, the applicant has gone over it, and so we have a couple of concerns that, while there are simple proportions, there are some shifting around and things like that. Maybe isn't as true to the style as it would. There's a lot of material. In my opinion, these are some of the things that Masonry Modern wants you to include to bring in relief and things like that. So I don't necessarily think that these are bad moments. I just question whether they constitute a new style. There are decorative elements, and if we think that those make the building better, then maybe they should just shift towards a full-on Masonry Modern, which just means eliminating some of the glass that you're seeing. Glass that, quite honestly, with a lot of glass, given Florida energy calcs, is probably going to have a highly reflective material to it, where it'll appear more as a wall material than a window. So it's just very close to a style we already have is part of it too. In terms of form following function, yes, it's obvious where there's balconies that those are residential uses. I question the tower design, however, whether that's conveying a true residential element. So I don't know. It's a question of whether or not you think that it meets that. So the question is whether there's enough specificity in the proposed style to actually consider it a documented and substantiated style. And if there's not, then is it enough to say then that it's contextually appropriate for downtown Delray Beach? That's the question. And if it is, and it's an evolving style, if it's fundamentally broad, then how would we apply it on another building that wanted to use the same style? Would there be predictability and consistency that our stakeholders and residents could expect? We've had a lot of consideration and direction to remove Masonry Modern, and so is bringing in something that's even more broadly defined a good idea at this point? So ultimately, this needs to be decided before the site plan continues to get developed. We don't want them to have spent all this money on drawings and time and come here and then we say we don't like your architecture. You have to go back to the drawing board, which is why you hear it now. And so let's see, again, Planning and Zoning Board voted 4-2. They thought that the elevations and landscaping proposed were contextually appropriate and contributed positively to the area. And depending on your outcome, I think we need to decide what we're going to do with those styles as a secondary option. And that's it. I'm here if you have questions, and Mr. Ibrahim is as well.
Thank you very much. I'm opening the meeting up to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come up to the lectern, give your name and address. You will each have 3 minutes. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Is there cross-examination or rebuttal from the applicant?
Just some rebuttal, Mr. Mayor. We hear staff's concerns. We heard them at the Planning and Zoning Board meeting. The next day, my client directed me to reach out to staff to see if we could get together to try to resolve some of those concerns, and we, frankly, were rebuffed by the project manager, who's not here today to defend himself, but I just want you to know we want to work with staff. If there are things that they feel that we can tighten up as far as the definition to make them more comfortable, we're happy to do that. We'd like to continue to move forward in this process. It's been a long process to even get here. We think our building is beautiful and a very great example of contemporary functionalism. Again, Masonry Modern, there were some styles that were purposefully broad that staff just said. And again, We were originally came in, we didn't just create functional, we didn't just like create this style out of nowhere or create the need to do this out of nowhere. We had a pre-app meeting, we proposed our design, and it was advised that we go down this route because we weren't masonry modern. We don't want to be masonry modern. I don't think this building looks masonry modern at all. But I'm not an architect. We're here asking for your vote to continue this process forward. If you direct us to meet with staff and work with staff, we will absolutely 100% do that. We have to come back to you. Just to point out on the staff side, we are not proposing any waivers. My client has been very clear with me from day one, no waivers, no variances. And we will continue down that road. But again, if this board wants, we'll be happy to continue to work with staff to tighten up a definition. But we ask for your vote tonight.
Thank you very much.
you.
Does the staff have any comments?
Yes, I would like to respond. Once you were in the process and received a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Board, we weren't going to foster changing the request around without going back to the Planning and Zoning Board to revisit their recommendation if things were changing. So certainly we're always available, but I'm more scared of Ms. Jellin than I am of Mr. Schiller. So thank you. No, I'm kidding. So we have a process, and once you were in it, then we couldn't we couldn't keep changing it in between the Planning and Zoning Board. Otherwise, we go back. We go back.
Explanation accepted. Okay. To the commission. Mr. Long.
All right, so just to be clear, we're not debating whether they're going to add this to our approved styles. We're just approving it for this specific project, right?
So
it wouldn't be like on the list.
The way it was originally intended was that you could add styles. The way that any deviation has been approved to date has been narrowed to just this site in this location.
Right.
So could you do that? Sure. Is it necessary to do that, or can this design be pushed or pulled into something else, or is it so much better than what results out of using the styles that you want to see this happen here,
right,
in this location?
I remember with the Ray, I was actually on SPRAB at the time, and we approved it as tropical modern, which isn't on the list, but I think that's one of our coolest buildings in the city. I've never heard any complaints about it. So I personally think, I'm not concerned about making sure that we have a definable architectural style for the future, because to me it's a case-by-case basis. If someone wants to use this style again, presumably they're going to be an architect and be able to articulate why their building fits within this style. To me, this looks sort of like masonry modern, but I'm not an architect, right? And so I'm going to go with what the architect says. If they say this is a different style that's already been defined elsewhere, then I'm gonna believe them. And by the way, my heartache with masonry modern is more about what I consider to be a redundant process. That's why I say let's either get rid of it or treat it like every other style instead of looking at it again. And it's just we hear the same presentation every time about what's masonry modern. It's we know what it is now. But in any case, I'm not as concerned with making sure that we define this. I feel like the architect knows what it is. I don't think this is a huge departure from things that we have approved all over the city. To me, it's in no way detrimental. If the applicant wants to use all this glass, then I think that's really should be up to them. They're not asking for a waiver. They're just asking to approve this style. Now, if this was really avant-garde or it really just didn't fit into the surrounding community, I get it. That's when we step in and we're this just doesn't work here. This does not work here. It's going to disrupt the flow here, etc. But to me, I like it. I don't have an issue with it. And I frankly think in some ways we should encourage styles that are outside of our 6 approved ones, as long as we have some say in it. So I don't have an issue with it. I'm on board with it. Thank you.
Commissioner Marker.
Anthea, just a question. So if they did come back to you, are there some specific changes that you could make that would get it closer to our standard?
I think the tower is probably one of the more problematic. I mean, it doesn't look like you're walking into, I think the form is not indicative of whatever the function of the building is at that point. I'm sure that we could work with them. I just, they must feel passionately if the decision was not to pull into one of the existing defined styles and instead opt to go through this process to build that building, because they could have made adjustments and shifted it towards one of them. So I'm not sure it's their request, whether could we pull it? I mean, we could do a facadeectomy and make it Mediterranean revival if that was the goal, but
Sure.
It is their request. So it needs to, they may not want to change it, and that's their prerogative to ask you for that. So
We're more than willing to work with staff, 100%.
Well, I heard that in your opening remarks, and that's nice to hear when you're sitting up here. I'm like Rob. I'm not an architect by any means. I like this visually. I think it's pretty good, but I'm also sensitive, Anthea, to the standards that we have, and we got to be careful with that. We got to be careful with that. But if you all are willing to work with our staff and make a few modifications that get you more comfortable, Anthea, I would be okay with that.
Sorry,
jump in.
good evening. I would like just to add something, that the site plan itself is still active in review. So we are actually actively working with the applicant. We have a very good relationship with them, and the site plan will still go back into the PZB board.
Okay.
So the design is evolving, let's say that. So the request today is on the use of the style itself.
Okay.
So, but changes to the design, yes, it's very possible. And we are working together just to make it better and better.
That's a great answer. Thank you.
Cheers.
Finished?
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes, I actually am ready to move forward with it. However, I'm glad to hear that you're willing to work with staff. But, I heard that this design respects the rules of the city, and that, and I think that the intent was clearly defined. However, I'm confused. You said that we purposely left a broad description, and then you said that this one is close to a style that we already have. I really
Right. So we have 7 styles, and they're rather broad, but they capture this.
6.
And
Okay.
this is close to Masonry Modern, right? But there's some elements of it, like the glass boxes, the percentage of glazing probably, that are not meeting that standard. So this doesn't really, at this point, fall into that style. So now it's outside of those purposely broad 7. So it even being with broadly defined, this isn't fitting neatly in any of them. So rather than adjust the design to shift into those, the choice was to go forward and choose a new design. Make a new style.
And it doesn't really have to fit into any one of those 6.
It's supposed to. Every downtown development is supposed to adhere to one of the 7. If they want to go outside of it, then it turns into a longer process. Because the expectation is when we define those 7 with all of those public workshops,
the 15
it was
public
meant to be that you do one of these and everybody's supposed to be okay with it. Like we weren't going to keep fighting building by building that came in, right? And so I think that then the process becomes longer, giving the public more opportunity to see what's coming in if you're going outside of that. And so that was the strategy behind it. And we made it really long for the ones that were having a lot of angst around them. So I think if everything that comes forward for a departure is approved, then I'm starting to question what's the point of holding to the 7. That's a bigger question for the community and for the downtown area. But so ultimately, the goal at the time, 10 years ago, because it was 2015 when these were adopted, was to try to raise the standard of architecture downtown and the predictability so that we weren't losing the Village by the Sea character. And as the consultant, I was the one that pushed for some of the more modern language to be included because there was such a pushback against, some of the buildings that had more recently been approved. So it's not that, I think like it wouldn't take that much to pull that into compliance. So either give them the leeway to, I don't know, use more glass, because I have a hard time. The thing that's bothering me the most with this is I understand what MIMO is when you can bring architectural design guidelines from Miami Beach that they're using to implement MIMO. Based on the wildly different architectures that were shown by the applicant, there's no consistency in terms of saying that any building that comes in after it would have any predictable design outcome, because they're just all over the place, because it's constantly evolving. How is staff supposed to apply a constantly evolving style? Or do we, if we're going to just constantly evolve, then we don't need the design guidelines anymore. We can remove them, and we can go back to building by building by building.
Wow, that would be.
All right, well, I don't have a problem with it, but I do hope that, and appreciate Mr. Schiller willing to work with Anthea to come to some satisfaction. Okay.
Commissioner Casal.
So, and I had this discussion with Anthea. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's beautiful. But I am very much appreciate you for explaining to us where the problem for us is. Because every time we make an exception, then we open the door for the next exception and the next exception. So the question is legitimate. These guidelines have been around since 2015. Do we change them, go back out to the public? Because we do have a different city from 2015. And do we ask people what do they want and see if we're changing? But in the meantime, you're right. An exception after an exception, then we might as well just have everything in front of us. I'm concerned about designing from the dais. We're not supposed to do that. I'm not qualified. It worries me that, if you've been working with staff, they probably gave you input to get you where you need to be. And I want to just ask you, if you've already received input that could put this in a category that we have, and you wouldn't even have to come here, what's been the holdup with you and staff working side by side? And maybe staff needs to answer that question, because I don't want to ask you to go do something that's going to fundamentally change what I think is beautiful personally, but I also don't like stepping outside of our policies, practices that keep us functioning. I don't want to approve every building that's coming up in the city. So how do we get to a place where we can fit this into one of the categories that we currently have?
So, Commissioner, good questions. First,
I think your architect is going to.
You want to answer that question, Peggy?
Sure.
Okay, even better. She's qualified.
So the history of this project, as was mentioned earlier, that this building was originally designed as a masonry modern. This has been designed for quite some time, extensive reviews, pre-approvals with staff, and although these design styles are considered broad, which I'm not sure how saying broad design styles offer you any predictability, no matter sort of the revisions that were done in the design and the redesign just never quite got us to where the reviewer was satisfied that it was a masonry modern design. And we were actually sort of directed, because it's masonry modern, which also has this same process, to go to planning and zoning for the approval of the use of masonry modern, come to this board also for the approval of masonry modern, that perhaps we would follow this road for an alternate design style after numerous redesigns that just were not satisfying planning to fit into that design.
Thank you.
May I add something? Like staff are not against like beauty or innovation or bringing new styles. Like you have seen, like the Miami Modern, it's well established architectural style within the southeast region of Florida and well documented, and we can refer to it and cite it. The main issue here is like contemporary functionalism is not an architectural style per se.
What you're saying.
Contemporary refers to a time, its most recent design, and functionalism is a philosophy of design. It could be attributed to too many other designs. It prioritizes utility over ornament, so that means the design will follow the form. This reached its peak with Louis Sullivan, the great American architect, the father of skyscraper, when he coined the term form follow function, meaning like when you look into a residential building, you say like this form is lending itself to residential and so on. So we are not against the design per se.
Right.
It's a nice building, but we would like to categorize it like within either.
I would like you to pick one of our categories and put it into
one of the categories, or
easier.
even a new one that is not there, but we can easily describe, refer to it, and then regulate it in the future. If someone else would like to use this style, that means we can tell them like, yes, this is 1, 2, 3, these are the elements.
Understood.
We break it down as we're
Right.
breaking it down into the staff report. So we're working together, but
Right.
we'd like to reach a consensus.
Right, and the question for us is how do we direct you to go forward to get there? And that's where I'm challenged with what we have on our agenda, because it sounds like, we could just approve this, and then we have to go and review all of our 7 and see what we can do to revise it based on, developing ideas about what's attractive and not in the city for our residents, or we don't approve it at all, and then I don't know where that leaves you, or we ask you to go together and work together, but I wouldn't even know how to say that in this current agenda item, because the agenda item is for something very specific, so we would have to deny and direct. I don't even know how it works. Mayor, I like your input.
The issue is I like the building. I think it really looks nice as a building. Too. I mean, I have the same problem, by the way, with the glass as you have, and I'm concerned. I'm concerned with the glass, but I think that's something that could be addressed in the design process. They could fix that, and I do also concerned with whether there will be a glare along the avenues there from the sun at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's going to be kind of an issue. But I think, seriously, I think that can be addressed. Well, I don't particularly like the design of Urban Outfitters. I think the building works fine, just not on Atlantic Avenue.
I think everybody likes it now.
Well, I don't. So they're not everybody, but and I would feel. I do think architecture evolves. We don't want to be always, the last one to say we're going to adopt a style, but I do think that. But I think staff can probably add a lot of value in making this. If this were on Atlantic Avenue, I would have a very different view.
Sure.
Than it's this corner of on First Street on 5th and 6th Avenue.
Yes.
Because as you do point out, the Caspian is a little avant-garde itself.
Sure.
And so we do have, it's right across the street from something that is kind of on the avant-garde side. I mean, I want to encourage you to go forward, but I guess like Commissioner Casal and others, we have to be very careful. And I don't want to architectural styles evolve, as I say. So I don't want to say, you got to be this, you got to be this. I'm a building specific kind of a person. I like if a building fits in that particular spot.
Sure.
And then when I mean that, I don't want to do it citywide. I mean, it's got to just happen to fit in that spot, but that's largely because of where the Caspian is and what they did there. So, but I want you to work with staff. I don't want you to stop because it's a beautiful design, and I think you're so close to something that could be embraced that I'm. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
absolutely.
And I think the owner is certainly within. It was something he would want to do to make it. I mean, he's not trying to. I mean, everybody wants to be an architectural digest. I know. You guys can't help yourselves, and it's great. It's great. That said, you know, we're a little Delray Beach here, and you know, I mean, I think whatever. As I said, this design is great. I think you're so close anyway, but I don't know how to give the direction.
Can we direct
Mayor,
to?
can I make a quick comment just to add to what you're saying? So I like back to the American Social Project for Mays. I think there's kind of a parallel here. They showed the version that the city had approved that they could have done without any waivers, and then the version that they basically pushed back and said that we don't like this. It's not the aesthetic we want, and came back and had to go through a more difficult process, which we ultimately approved because it was better. The version that they could have done without waivers had those like crappy canvas awnings, and it looked more like a pharmacy than like a place to go get dinner. The version that they came back with, when they were allowed to have their architectural and artistic creativity and freedom realized, was a much better product for the city. And so I do have to challenge this idea that if we go outside of what should be guidelines, that we're somehow diminishing them. I mean, is there a pattern of that? Because I don't know of many projects that are outside those guidelines besides the Ray, which I think is one of our best projects in the city. So I don't think maybe this doesn't fit neatly into the masonry modern box, right?
That's what I'm saying. I think architecture evolves, and I agree.
Right.
I do want to make a point of clarification, though. I'm sorry, but the issue with the previous one was not about the architecture. It was about the fact that they were going outside of their setbacks,
Right.
which staff just does not have the administrative authority to approve ever.
I'm well
really.
aware. I just voted on it, but I was just drawing a parallel. I didn't say it was the same thing, but I appreciate the clarity.
Mayor. Oh, sorry, Mr. Long.
Yeah, I was just trying to make a point about creativity, because you could see based on the renderings that there were two different visions there, and what was allowed when we forced them to fit into the city guidelines versus when we gave them a little bit of leeway to exercise some creativity. That's the point I'm trying to make. I know there are different approval processes for each of
May I
those
ask
things.
a question?
Sure.
Is it possible for us to approve with the direction that they find a way to?
Can I just suggest something?
Go,
Sorry,
yeah,
I don't mean to
please, because
interrupt.
we need help.
Because
I
right
mean-
now, you're not necessarily approving,
No, we're just
site plan
approving a
or building.
design
You're approving
style.
a design guideline.
Yeah.
So if the issue is, you're concerned about deviating from the design guidelines, you can say, and I think Anthea touched upon it, this is very close to masonry modern.
Exactly.
This is the same path they would have taken if they wanted to pursue a masonry modern design, right? They would have had to come before the commission, they would have had to make a presentation. So you can say, work with staff, we're going to approve this as masonry modern, and just make whatever administrative changes you need to fit more in line with that design.
Is that going to work?
Yes.
Okay, that's
Then-
what we were
then-
hoping.
You could have said this 10 minutes.
I was
Because I
trying.
think the-
That's why I
10 minutes
asked,
ago,
could
I
we
said
change
that.
the agenda? That's why I was asking the
No,
question.
because right now you're just approving
I know.
a design,
Okay,
right?
so moved.
the agenda is going to say masonry modern with some administrative leeway.
I love it, because then we're
to
not
make some
putting our
changes.
staff in the awkward position of having all these people come forth with a new design style.
I
I,
don't
like
think it's
it.
going to be a complete redesign. I think
I don't
they're
either.
gonna
That's
listen
what I
to
said.
your
It's so
comments.
close.
Right.
It's so
Can you just
close.
lay that out for us in terminology
Mr. Schiller, do you have something to comment?
I just want to confirm. I just want to confirm with staff and the attorney that we're not going to have to go back through planning
No.
and zoning or anything.
No.
We can just continue to move forward, and this board is determining that this is more masonry modern.
Yeah.
And staff is going to try to
Well, staff is going to tweak it.
corral
Staff is
some,
going to tweak it, but
corral
we're
some of that
moving
stuff.
forward in that direction with the.
Can I
Because
just
as I
say,
said, I like the building, and you're so close to fitting that I would like.
Anthea, is that?
this is the first time in history we're requesting more masonry modern. By
For
the
the
way,
record.
just want to put that on the record.
And I hate masonry.
Mark down the date.
Okay, may I? I'll move that. So moved as our city attorney expressed.
All right, so
Thank
you
you.
have. So what are we voting on?
You're going to vote that you're going to approve the request to utilize the masonry modern architectural style for the project located at 109 South
You're okay with that?
Avenue.
So moved.
Okay, then I need a motion.
Second. We already moved this.
Okay. Oh, we already
I mean,
moved
I
the
don't
sec-
make the motion.
No, but she doesn't make the motion.
No.
I moved. I did.
Oh,
so
you
moved.
okay? We have a motion in a second. Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Cassell,
Yes.
Deputy Vice Mayor Burns,
Yes.
Mayor Carney,
Yes.
Commissioner Markert,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
That was hard.
I know. Thank you, staff.
Nothing.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Huh? Thanks.
And I would say thank you, Anthea, for protecting us from, ourselves.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. It's
I-
beautiful.
I
I
feel
love
good.
it. I think it fits.
All right, we have item 7D, Resolution 103-25. Would you want to read that into the record?
11025, 7C.
7C, we're on.
Oh, 7C, I'm sorry.
11025.
Oh, I
We
beg your
can-
pardon, everyone sit back down.
Jeremy Spelunky would.
All right, 7C.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, granting an in-lieu of parking fee request for the project located at 270 East Atlantic Avenue, as more particularly described herein, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement consistent with the approval herein, providing an effective date and further purposes.
Okay, now ex parte communications?
Yes, I spoke with the applicant. Excuse me, I spoke with the applicant.
I don't know that I spoke with any. I spoke with the owner of the building when he was having this thing last couple weeks back, but that was that. Yeah, I spoke with the applicant on the phone.
I spoke with him.
Yeah, well, we didn't meet on this, no. Okay, just checking.
I believe the applicant reached out to me, but I don't think we ever ended up actually connecting.
Okay. Would you please read the project file into the record?
Yes, I'm going to enter two files, actually, 2025-008 and 2025-168. That's both the site plan and the in-lieu request.
Great. To the
Hi, good evening. For the record, Christina Valenki. My address again is 14 Southeast 4th Street in Boca Raton. And I am covering for my colleague this evening on this project, so bear with me. I think I'm up to speed, but hopefully we'll be able to answer your questions, and the applicant is here as well. So we're talking about the property at 270 Atlantic Avenue. It's highlighted in pink there on the south side of Atlantic between Southeast 2nd Avenue and the railroad tracks. Everybody's probably very familiar with this building. It was Taverna Opa. And, you know, it's historically been a restaurant for quite some time. Taverna Opa, you know, closed down, and the property owner has been seeking another tenant to come into that space. And the tenant, Rakahula, is proposing to go in there. It's an Asian, modern Asian kind of cuisine with a tiki hut feel, very cool concept, something unique to the city. So they're excited to come in here, and we are requesting some in lieu parking this evening for this property. So as you can see, again, when Taverna Opa was in operation, they had the outdoor seating in front of the building, which was part of the sidewalk cafe ordinance. And they did have some outdoor seating in the breezeway. I'm not sure if that was because of the allowances during COVID, or you know, if they just had outdoor tables there, you know, without having it on their site plan previously. But that's essentially what this property owner is seeking to do now, is to add some outdoor seating to the breezeway, in addition to adding square footage for a new walk-in cooler. So the city's parking ratios are not based on customer service area like other cities. It's based on your gross square footage. So that walk-in cooler actually requires 2 parking spaces. Again, for just putting in, you know, a 157 square foot walk-in cooler. So that's where 2 of the parking spaces for this in lieu request is coming from. And the other 2 parking spaces that we're requesting in lieu for is for the outdoor seating along the breezeway. And so this is essentially the site plan and floor plan. You can see the walk-in cooler addition is on the rear of the property. That's highlighted here. That's the 157 square feet. And then again, we're proposing to have some outdoor seating. Again, where Taverna Opa did have outdoor seating previously along the west side of the building, along this breezeway in 2 locations. And the outdoor seating along the breezeway does not count as the sidewalk cafe because it's basically past the building setback line. So where the front area is part of the sidewalk cafe ordinance, it doesn't need to be parked. this area is. And so those outdoor seating spaces along the breezeway require 2 parking spaces. Because this is on Atlantic Avenue, we can't provide parking. There's nowhere to provide parking on the property itself. It's essentially comprised of mostly the building. So we are seeking to utilize the in-lieu parking based on the available parking within the garages. And so the property is highlighted right here by this star along Atlantic Avenue. And there's the Federspiel garage, and I apologize, I always have trouble saying that word, right over here. And then you have the Arts garage on the north side. Both are under, I think, 800 feet of the property when you're walking along the sidewalks, 500 feet when you're doing kind of as the crows fly. And both of those garages have an average utilization rate of 22%. So there is ample parking to accommodate the 4 spaces that are part of the in-lieu request. The in-lieu request will also facilitate the reuse of that building, again, for a restaurant. And it does not facilitate development that will demolish a historic structure. And those are the criteria for approval of the in-lieu. And that's essentially it. We're happy to answer any questions you may have this evening.
Thank you very much. To the city.
Okay, it's a fairly simple request. Hang on, I can see him back there moving it. Okay, so this is for 4 in lieu of parking spaces. A restaurant of this size would typically be required to have 46 spaces, and we all know that this property does not have that much. So what happens is if you expand your building footprint or expand your outdoor seating areas on private property, because restaurant is calculated as a gross amount, and particularly on Atlantic Avenue, which has the highest restaurant requirements at 12 per thousand, even these small changes result in parking. And this is, in my opinion, sort of what in lieu is meant to be able to be used for, right? Because, building the cooler outside and then shifting around the kitchen and making a little more room here and there is something we need our restaurants to be able to modify. Over time, the way outdoor dining has been handled has changed. It used to be anything outside was done through a sidewalk cafe, whether it was on private property or not. That changed in, I want to say 2015, and then Taverna Opa, I think, got some of it back just through COVID protocols. So these 2 spaces that they're asking for the outdoor dining that's on their private property will definitely kind of legitimize that moving forward in time. So again, if the required parking cannot be provided on site or through an off-site agreement, this is the release valve that is meant to be offered. It's only 4 spaces. You could approve just 2 for the cooler, or you could just do 2 for the outdoor dining, but 4 allows the restaurant to have both. There is a level 2 site plan that is contingent upon this approval. And the final CO, if this is successful, could be issued because that is the only thing keeping them in a TCO situation right now. Again, this is in Area 1, which has the highest in lieu rate, so it's $30,000 per space. And your findings are whether or not there are adequate public parking options within a 5-minute walk, which is 1,320 feet. And making sure that is supporting one of the city's policy-driven goals, and this one would support number 3, which is adaptive reuse or expansion of an existing building that is not more than 2 stories in height. That's offered as a way to maintain our smaller fabric, and that makes the character of downtown. So this site is relatively close to Old School Square Garage, and all of the streets, surrounding it have on-street parking options. So there's that. And the Parking Management Board This one and another application were to be heard at the May 27th meeting. However, there was no quorum. After conferring with the manager and Ms. Jellin, we decided to just bring this forward without that recommendation so that we didn't have to delay the applications any longer. So there is no formal recommendation from that board at this time. And that concludes my presentation if you have any questions.
Great, thank you. We're now opening up to members of the public. Any members of the public wishing to speak on this item, please come to the lectern, give your name and address. You will each have 3 minutes. Are you coming up this way?
I am.
Okay. I'm going to quickly gavel.
Good evening, Laura Simon with the Downtown Development Authority, 350 Southeast 1st Street. Just wanted to say that the DDA is supportive of this, of the in lieu at this historic restaurant. The restaurateur is successful in other areas. We're really excited to welcome his 100+ employees to downtown. Appreciate really the staff working with them diligently to make sure that everything is covered. They've done an amazing job. But it's just, this is a historic restaurant use. He isn't expanding the number of seats that have been in there historically, that has had the parking available over the many, many years since the early 90s when it was Dakota's. So we just would really look to the commission to support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Cross-examination by either staff or the city, rebuttal staff or applicant? No? Then to the commission. Commissioner Burns.
I am in support. As much as I don't like in lieu, I agree with Anthea that this was exactly what in lieu was created for. So I'm in support.
Great. Commissioner Marker.
I echo Angela's comments. I don't like the in lieu program, but this area does have a lot of parking available, and it's historically worked, so I'm in favor.
Commissioner Casal.
I always feel like restaurants are slightly different when it comes to the in lieu, because sometimes people, multiple people come in one car, or you use an Uber, or you use the freebie, or you're somewhere else and you walk. May I ask one question on this? When the applicant applied for the in lieu, was that at this new rate, or were we still at the old rate?
The applicant applied for in lieu on April 22nd
of this
year.
Okay,
so.
thank you. Thank you. So I support this. Thanks, Anthea.
I agree with my colleagues.
I think this is, I'm glad we're using the existing restaurant. We're not adding spaces. It keeps the scope and scale of the avenue, and I'm in favor of it. So.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Vice Mayor Burns.
Yes.
Mayor Carney.
Yes.
Commissioner Marker.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long.
Yes.
Commissioner Cassell.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Well done.
Thank you again. Appreciate your time this evening.
We want to get
Thank you,
invited to
Christina.
that opening too. So I want to be consistent with the restaurant openings. So.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say Chinese place.
Yeah, well, I heard Asian, and you had me at Asian. So, it's not Italian. And I love Italians, God knows. I love Italians.
Mayor, the next two are related. Should I read them both together?
Yes, please.
Resolution
They're
number.
both related to the Muscle on the Beach and
Yes.
the $8,000 event fee.
Yes.
Gotcha, okay.
Resolution number 102-25, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, authorizing a special event sponsorship in an amount not to exceed $8,000 for the special event known as Muscle on the Beach to be held on March 7, 2026. Authorizing the city manager to take all action as necessary to effectuate the intent of this resolution and providing an effective date and for other purposes. Resolution number 103-25, the resolution of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, approving an impact event known as Muscle on the Beach to be held on March 7th, 2026. Authorizing the city manager to take all actions necessary to effectuate the intent of this resolution, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Allie Bierman, Special Event Manager. Obviously, we're here for the 2026 Muscle on the Beach Car Show, which is going to be Saturday, March 7th, 2026 at Old School Square Campus. The request today is to approve the impact event known as Muscle on the Beach and a sponsorship not to include $8,000 in the form of waived city costs. The current city cost estimate is approximately $6,320, though some costs may require updating as the event comes closer, and other unexpected costs may be incurred prior to or during the event. Request for sponsorship must provide information on how the event serves a public purpose that is in alignment with the city's purpose and intentions as stated herein. In determining whether to grant a sponsorship, the city commission may consider how the event promotes community welfare, improves quality of life for the citizens and visitors, builds a sense of community, and provides enriched cultural opportunities. Quality of life for the citizens and visitors is improved by uniting and engaging past, present, and future youth, grandparents, parents, and children through storytelling, memory sharing, and quality family time in the show field with muscle cars of all eras. Muscle on the Beach 2025 brought together over 5,000 local and visiting families to downtown Delray. Sense of community is built alongside the overwhelming support of local and regional business sponsors, participants, and attendees, and united efforts of longtime community leaders. Enriched cultural opportunities are provided through the free public accessible sharing to all walks of life and socioeconomic backgrounds of automotive history. The special event policy determines an impact event. Any event with over 3,500 people in attendance is an impact event. Muscle on the Beach has had 5,000 people in attendance, and that number is expected to, again for 2026. You can see the total estimated show revenue is $78,000 with car exhibitor fees and total anticipated vendor fees. The show expense is $29,505, which would give them a total expected profit of $49,367, and 100% of the show profit will be donated to the Sandaway Discovery Center. And there you have a site map of the show. And the applicant is here, or either one of us can answer questions.
Right. We don't normally have applicant making any comments on this, so, but to the commission.
I mean, we've all approved this before. We all like it. I mean, if nothing's changed, I don't know why we wouldn't approve it again, frankly. That's where I'm at.
Mr. Marker?
I feel the exact same way.
Approve.
Ms. Casal?
I love the event. I spent the day there, and you made 49,000, I believe, for the organization. 62. Okay, the cover sheet is.
I went last year, and there wasn't one car I could have afforded.
And not to mention, we get a ton of
Maybe one.
media coverage from the host, who is quite lovely, and people watch it internationally. So thank you very much. It's been exciting.
I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that's for 7D. We're going to do a motion to approve 7E now for the
102, motion to approve resolution 10225.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're done.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
George, you do a great event. We're looking forward to this year.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I like the fact that it goes to the Sandaway House.
Yes, a lot of money.
We'll get you a rickshaw. That's right. Okay, 7F, nomination for an appointment to the Planning and Zoning Board based on the rotation system. This is it's one nomination for a qualified member to serve to August 31st, 2027. This nomination shall be made by Vice Mayor Long.
I'm going to nominate Christina Godbout.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Done. Huh? Yeah, I always try to figure out who's going to get slick, and I have nothing else going on in my life, so.
You like putting bets on who's going to get nominated?
No, I just.
As soon as I see my name's not on it, I just pass.
Just make sure she attends.
I didn't, same thing.
She had an attendance problem, didn't she, before?
I think so. She was on DDA.
I knew she was on DDA for a long time. Okay, that's right. Then it wasn't her I'm thinking of, not thinking of. Anyway.
I wouldn't have wanted someone who's.
All right, no, that's right.
Oh, I know who that is.
Okay, we have public hearings. We have second readings on 8, well, these are, you want to read the second reading, or are we going to have presentations?
Yeah, we're gonna have presentations. I'd like to do A, B, C, and D together because
Okay.
they're all related to the same project.
Yep.
Mayor, 8A is quasi judicial, as well as 8, D, I believe, 8D. So those are both quasi judicial. Treated the same way, but you have to do your disclosures on those.
Well, then this is a quasi-judicial hearing at 8A. Is there anybody that's going to be speaking on this item? Please stand and be sworn by the clerk.
A and D.
By the authority vested in me as a notary of the state of Florida, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Are there any ex parte communications?
On 8A, no, because I don't think so.
I don't think I had any.
No, not for me either.
If it's on the, if it's
No,
on
it's an
the,
honest
if it's on the server, then that's all I know. But other than that, I had no direct conversation on anyone on any of these items.
So I'll read all four captions, Mayor.
I'm sorry, please
I'll
do.
read all four. Ordinance number 05-25, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, adopting a comprehensive plan amendment by amending policy NDC 147 of the Neighborhoods District and Corridors element of the Always Delray Comprehensive Plan to allow for the commerce land use designation along Congress Avenue South of West Atlantic Avenue, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Ordinance 06-25, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, amending the land development regulations of the City of Delray Beach Code of Ordinances, Chapter 4, Zoning Regulations, Article 4.3, District Regulations, General Provisions, Section 4.3.3, Special Requirements for Specific Uses, Subsection AA, Adult Entertainment Establishments, to prohibit adult entertainment establishments south of Atlantic Avenue, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, authority to codify, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 02-25, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, adopting a small-scale land use map amendment redesignating a parcel of land measuring approximately 4.27 acres located at 975 South Congress Avenue, as more particularly described herein, from Congress Avenue mixed use to commerce pursuant to the provisions of the Community Planning Act, Florida Statute Section 163.3187, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Ordinance number 01-25, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, rezoning land measuring approximately 4.27 acres located at 975 South Congress Avenue, as more particularly described herein, from mixed residential, office, and commercial to mixed industrial and commercial, amending the City of Delray Beach zoning map, July 6, 2021, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
Great. So they're going to do the quick. You're going to enter the two files for 8A and 8B into the record. Are you handling them both at the same presentation?
Everything can be done once.
They're interrelated, so it may be easier. I don't know that it's all one PowerPoint. Probably.
That's why I'm asking.
for
How do you
handy,
want to handle this as
So I think that what we will do is A and B are city initiated, but we're going to explain them in the context of the private request. And then, so we could do A and B first, and then we'll let the applicant bring forward C and D, if that's okay.
That's fine. So
Maybe
just
that's the best way to do
them
it.
into the record, please.
Okay, so
Phrase documentation.
for this one, which is quasi because it's a text amendment, I would like to enter file 2025-088 into the record, and then ultimately the rezoning request, the privately initiated rezoning, is quasi, and that is file 2025-052. And just for good measure, the land use amendment that facilitates the zoning is 2025-053. Okay, so the reason staff is doing a little bit of an assist with this is the request that is coming forward is consistent with the goals of the Congress Avenue, the CBRE plan that was done, where we looked at the market mix along Congress Avenue and tried to figure out if the zoning there was appropriate or not. And so that is, I think it came up at the last meeting, like when is staff moving forward? We do these studies, and then we have to catch up with changing the regulations to follow the advice of these studies. So this is one of those. That ultimately the Delray Beach Congress Avenue Strategic Plan was a study that tried to provide market-informed development and retail strategy recommendations for Congress Avenue. And so basically the text amendment before you is exactly what is on the screen. It is eliminating the land use policy limitations on where the commerce land use can be, which needs to happen for the map request to come forward. Otherwise, it would be inconsistent with the policy. So, if all of these ordinances that are required to implement our own recommendations in our study were on the applicant's burden, it would have been a really expensive application, and this is the direction staff was going when we had a minute, right? So the Congress Avenue study looked at uses and identified that uses like home improvement, tile companies, cabinetry companies, and more trade-oriented home type of uses would be appropriate there, and the current zoning under MROC didn't necessarily allow it any longer. This is also coupled with the existing infrastructure that's there, and the applicant is going to make their request on their specific existing non-conforming building. But there are buildings throughout the corridor that were already constructed for these types of uses that can't easily just become a store or just become an office or a residential, which is what MROC wants. So we've had a lot of inquiries from different businesses, and can I go and even there's a cluster of mechanics and some of those buildings closer to Atlantic Avenue. Those are technically all non-conforming uses now. So that was part of where staff had asked. The purpose of the study was to tell us, like, okay, are we trying to move those businesses out eventually, or do we need to change the zoning so we accommodate their long-term existence? So there are very limited areas where these types of industrial areas in the city, these types of uses can locate. And the areas where they can locate are, of course, the focus of possible live local projects. So it's getting even more competitive to be able to have these uses that, are a little more intense than just, your retail restaurant, but they also need a place because they're important. And so this text amendment is related to the privately initiated one on this property. It doesn't require that you approve their request, but it allows you to, if you desire, to approve their request. And the same thing with the zoning. While they are categorized as industrial type land uses, what Commerce actually accommodates is a pretty wide mix that includes commercial and service industries. And then I'm trying to make sure. So Commerce is currently north of Atlantic Avenue. It also has a little bit that's further, that's over by the 10th Street. I'm sorry. It's a little bit over in here, but it's mostly accommodated by light industrial. So when we look at the Congress Avenue corridor, it's all this mixed use type of buildings. Here's the industrial piece that's going into the Live Local project, Parks at Del Rey. There's a residential building coming in between the two existing office buildings here. Alexan moves to the north. Alta Congress would exist. So there's a pretty wide range of uses that are along there. This is from the analysis that looked at the different quadrants of what was sort of forming around Congress Avenue and giving us advice on where to take the projects. So the recommendations were specifically to increase the flexibility of the uses that were allowed here, basically supporting home improvement, light industrial, things like that. So this amendment would allow those types of uses to have an avenue in. It still would require land use map changes and zoning, which we will evaluate from a city-initiated standpoint at some point. But Commerce then opens the door for the preferred mixed industrial, commercial, light industrial, and PCC are their preferred, because you have to look at it as like what else could come in, not just specifically what they're asking for. So these are the types of zonings that could come in when you allow a commerce land use. So again, this amendment just removes the limitation on where it can go in that policy. It doesn't require that you do it. These are the many, many uses that can come in these three districts. So it still maintains a wide range of uses. It just opens it up to others that are more industrial or accommodate those trade type uses and things like that sometimes come with storage or sometimes come with something a little more intense than just a pure retail from a service use. This is the next one that you're going to see. So that's going to take us to 8B. Okay, so this has nothing to do with what the applicant is asking you for, to be fair. This takes you, okay, so then the question is that given the character and the recommendations of the study, if it's appropriate to allow CMU and these types of zoning as an option or as a request, then we need to do this. Planning and Zoning Board voted 6-0 to recommend approval. We received, because this is a comprehensive plan amendment, a letter of no objection from the Department of Commerce, which used to be DEO, which used to be Community Affairs. If I can go rather quickly into 8B. Yeah, but I should have put them together. I'm sorry. Can we shift to 8B real quick? Because I think I just want to show you how they work, and then you obviously can vote on them separately, but thank you.
I think we both understand 8B pretty well.
Right. So 8B is because
So you don't want to, that's not a heavy lift.
Right. So we've said, hey, you can have commerce south of Atlantic, and now we want to say we're going to keep the adult entertainment uses that are allowed in the city exactly within the same geographic limits that they have now.
Right.
That's what 8B is. So I'm not going to go through this whole thing again because you've already seen all this. I'm trying to get to where the actual text amendment is in the zoning. No? Okay, let's just, oh, it's right there. Oh, God. Oh, the yellow's not showing. Okay, so we currently have in our code, you cannot have adult entertainment located on properties that have frontage on an arterial road or east of the CSX railroad. So because now some of these zoning categories could come through, we thought it would be an abundance of caution to also say you cannot be located south of Atlantic Avenue to that geographical limitation.
North?
These are south.
It says south.
Yes, it's south.
This is south.
This is south.
It's south of Atlantic, where there's, in other words, they're changing the zoning of these things, which would allow it, so they're just making sure that they're taking it out, so that they're not allowing it.
There's a lot of other limitations as well, but just
Right, the school, this is,
Yeah.
Right.
stuff, yeah.
I mean, when you look at the limitations, you probably would, if you could find a spot for it, it would be this big.
and
Community
that
facilities,
is
commercial,
where it shall remain.
Yeah.
so that
That was the whole idea.
No offense.
so again, Planning and Zoning Board voted 6-0 to recommend approval of this as well at the February 24th meeting, and I would just recommend that we consider these two ordinances first in the framework so that then when they rezone, this limitation is already in place.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
This is a public hearing. If there anyone would like to discuss these two items, either 8A or 8B, please come to the lectern, give your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Christina Morris, and I live at 1000 Lowry Street in downtown Delray Beach. And you must think I'm a broken record every time something like this comes up on Congress Avenue. I'm here in front of you pleading to do just what Anthea finally got to. And Anthea and your team, thank you so much for finally getting to it. I know they're really busy, and this is a big lift. But anyway, the zoning that was placed on Congress Avenue back in 2007 in the hopes of getting Office Depot's world headquarters somewhere on Congress Avenue in Delray Beach didn't work. But the zoning sat. Fortunately, the underlying use put on the properties by the county is still 4,800, which is distribution warehouse, which is what the structures there were built to accommodate. They have overhead doors, and they've got loading docks, and they've got very small office and big warehouses, and those types of amenities are not suitable to retail or office. It's suitable to light industrial. So it's really heartening that hopefully you will approve finally getting this put back to the way it is so we can keep our industries here. We have a booming construction industry in Delray Beach. I'm sure you realize that. And the home improvement section is based on Southwest 10th, Congress, and a little bit on Atlantic and the West Side. And you can go there and pick your tile and your doors and your flooring and everything for your new home, and it's great, but it doesn't meet the zoning. So please approve this so we can get the zoning back to where it is. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak on items 8A and 8B? Seeing none, the public portion of these two items is closed. To the commission. Who wants to go first? Mr. Marker.
Yeah, I agree with your presentation. I don't think there's much to argue about here.
Mr. Long.
Yeah, this is no brainer. Thanks for your hard work on this. And Thea, to you and your staff for figuring this all out.
Commissioner Casal.
No, I'm ready to move.
Commissioner Burns.
I'm ready to second.
Motion to approve ordinance number 05-25.
Second.
This is quasi-judicial, so we will call a roll.
Mayor Carney?
Yes.
Commissioner Marker?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long?
Yes.
Commissioner Cassell?
Yes.
Deputy Vice Mayor Burns?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion to approve ordinance number 0625.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Marker?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long?
Yes.
Commissioner Cassell?
Yes.
Deputy Vice Mayor Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Carney?
Yes.
Motion passed.
What did I say? I said no to yes. I was trying to stop you from. She wanted to second it.
No, it's okay. It's fine.
She said, I want to second.
Isn't there a third one?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
We are now on 8C. We've already read the ordinance, right?
Yes, sir. We just, in 8D, we just need the ex parte disclosures.
Are there on 8C?
D as in David. We'll see.
We're
It's a
not there yet.
rezoning. Did you do it already?
Well, we didn't do ex parte on this
I
one.
didn't. Okay, no, we didn't do ex parte on D. So I guess we can. Are there any ex parte conversations on
Not that I'm
item
aware
D?
of.
What is
I think
this?
we said. I said we said we didn't have on any of them.
Okay.
I think
No.
we're on
Oh no, we're doing C now, but we're
C
doing
and
them
D
both
together.
coming together.
C.
So
C and D are together.
No ex
no.
parte for me. No.
okay, none. Okay, staff, you're on.
no. I think the applicant is on.
Well, she has to introduce
Oh,
the.
sorry. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so again, I will introduce both the LUMA and the rezoning. The land use amendment is 2025-053, and the rezoning is 2025-052.
Okay, to the applicant.
Thank you so much. Good evening. For the record, my name is McKenna West. I'm a certified land planner and project manager at Cutler and Hearing, 1934 Commerce Lane, Jupiter. I'm here representing the owners and applicant for the property, Nathan Properties and Properties of Delray Incorporated, for the rezoning and comprehensive plan map amendment. The subject site is located on the northeast corner of 10th Street and Congress Avenue, just west of I-95. Consists of two buildings totaling approximately 70,000 square feet, 35,000 square feet for each building. The subject requests this evening, both requests are the comprehensive plan land use and map amendment from Congress mixed use designation to the commerce designation, and rezoning from MROC, that's mixed residential, office, and commercial, to mixed industrial and commercial. Just going to run through a couple maps just to show you how the maps will change. This is the existing future land use CMU, existing zoning MROC, proposed future land use commerce, and proposed zoning mixed industrial and commercial. For the surrounding land use, just to the north, there's another 35,000 square foot building that matches one of those on the subject site. Same use, light industrial, commercial warehouse. To the south, we have a commercial shopping center featuring retail and a gas station across 10th Street. Just to the west, across Congress Avenue, we have multifamily residential and professional offices, and then to the east, the South Florida Rail Corridor. Wanted to show just a couple of photos of the site, just to give a feel for the built condition and the current uses. So top right, we have a window and door specialty store. On the left, a carpet and design specialty store. Down below on the right, artificial turf. And there in the background to the left is the some vacant space, kind of the why behind these applications. Some brief history of the site. So the site was rezoned in 2007 by a city-initiated amendment for which the vision was mixed-use, walkable, transit-oriented development with the Congress mixed-use future land use in the MROC zoning district, which resulted in non-conforming status of light industrial uses, not just those of the subject site, but in the light industrial clusters surrounding, and many others throughout the Congress Avenue district. So that non-conforming status applies to both form and function. Some major operational challenges being faced by the property owners and property management is difficulty securing new tenants, as Anthea detailed previously. They're having trouble securing BTRs, zoning confirmation letters, as a result of the MROC zoning district regulations and the allowable uses. They also have challenges with obtaining permits for maintenance and renovations. The challenges resulting from the MROC change were not realized right away. The site had a lot of long-standing tenancy, and it wasn't until fairly recently, since the owners and property managers realized that this MROC zoning district was causing limitations for the types of tenants that they could bring in to replace those that were leaving, relocating, or downsizing within the development. This is a snip from the CBRE and Street Sense study that was done in 2023 that was brought forward. The study said it best. The MROC zone is home to existing light industrial businesses that, due to the zoning, are no longer allowed by right. Instead, they're considered non-conforming uses, which renders them incompatible with uses allowed by the zone and disallows property and business owners from improving their property for these uses. To reiterate, also disallows property and business owners from securing new tenancy. So to sum that all up, there's a fundamental mismatch between the uses that the space demands and what the zoning district allows, and this is the fastest path for my client to start securing new tenants. The criteria that we need to meet for the land use decision. So land use map. Number one, the proposed land use and zoning are appropriate for the existing use of the property. We meet this criteria. MIC is one of the preferred zoning designations for the commerce future land use, and the site was originally developed under the MIC district regulations. Concurrency. Just to be clear, there's no change to the use of the site. No proposed change, no site plan associated with this application. The uses will remain. My client, the owner and applicant, seeks only to maintain the use of the site as it has been historically since the 80s. That said, for concurrency, we're only tasked with evaluating the maximum development potential for all the designations in terms of traffic. So that has yielded going from the Congress mixed use and MROC to MIC and commerce is a net reduction of over 17,000 daily trips. We're meeting consistency. Of course, the concurrent application brought forward by staff brings us consistent with the Always Delray Comprehensive Plan, which also has multiple other guiding policies to preserve industrial land, but few industrial areas along the corridor are zoned industrial, so this will bring us closer to the goals. Compliance with the land development regulations. Again, no site plan modifications have been proposed by the applicant. And for the rezoning criteria, We are processing this application under the second and third criteria here. So there's been a change in circumstance which makes the current zoning inappropriate, as described previously. And 3, the requested zoning is of similar intensity as allowed under the land use map and is more appropriate for the property based upon circumstances particular to the site. MIC is consistent with the Commerce Future Land Use Designation as previously described and the built condition of the site. Standards for rezoning. I'll briefly breeze through this. So standard C, I omitted the other standards just because they were completely irrelevant. Standard C touches on discouraging strip commercial development. Again, no site plan proposed. That is not the intent of the applicant. And D, rezoning of land shall result in allowing land uses deemed compatible with the adjacent and nearby land uses, both existing and proposed, or that if an incompatibility may occur, that sufficient regulations exist to properly mitigate adverse impacts from the new use. So if the site were to be redeveloped, a site plan would be required in accordance with today's code. That would include, in this case or any case, buffers and setbacks would be required to protect from any incompatible uses and would be reviewed by staff accordingly. So with that, our request meets the regulatory standards for rezoning and land use map amendment, ensures operational viability of the Delray Commercial Center, as I stated previously, provides an immediate solution to the operational challenges that the owners are facing, and most importantly, adds vital land inventory to the light industrial sector, providing necessary goods and services to Delray, meeting the intent of the Always Delray Commercial Comprehensive Plan, With that, with a unanimous recommendation of approval from the Planning and Zoning Board, we respectfully request your approval of the subject petitions. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. To the city.
Okay, I'll be brief. I think that a couple of the reason that you saw the traffic drop so much in the presentation for the ultimate build out, it was a decrease of over 17,000 trips. You know, keep in mind that the existing land use has a 2.5 FAR, where the one they're shifting to is much, much lower, and the density is also much lower. So this request conceivably helps implement the street sense advice, and it actually lowers impacts on what's happening in the surrounding area. Again, the property is 4.27, and I can testify to the applicant's claim that it is difficult with the zoning verification letters, with the zoning certificates of use that come in. If there is a gap that is longer than 180 days with a non-conforming tenant, we're not supposed to let another non-conforming tenant in, and we're always kind of like trying to see if any of their tenants meet the zoning now so that the non-conforming one isn't getting worse. And it has been burdensome on this business owner. This is, it's a large site with a building constructed for uses that are technically, have been ushered out of the area and 20 years ago. So again, the change will move it from one of our more intense mixed-use districts to CMR. It changes it from MROC to MIC. Again, the reason for the drop is that the intensity and the potential density drop fairly significantly. The only place CMR right now is allowed to have residential is specific areas that are north of Atlantic that were set aside for workforce housing. I'm not going to go everything. I think you have had a good overview from the applicant. I just want to make sure that we've gone, that as part of the rezoning specifically, that you have to make a determination that the zoning is appropriate because it was either established in error, there's a change in circumstance, or that the requested zoning is a similar intensity and that it is more appropriate, which is probably the category that this falls under. Ultimately, if you have any questions, I'm here. The staff report that was entered into the record provides a full analysis, and I can confirm that there was no objection from iPark when we circulated this, and that the Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval of both ordinances 6-0 on February 24th.
Great. Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. If there's any members of the public that wishes to speak on 8C or 8D, come to the lectern, give your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
I don't need 3 minutes. I'll be very brief. I'm still Christina Morrison, and I still live at 1000 Lowry Street in downtown Delray Beach. In addition to everything I said before, this property was negatively impacted because a large tenant left right before COVID. Then COVID hit, traffic dropped. It sat empty for 6 months, and then we lost all the uses that had been there before, and we had to start over, and that's when things really went bad with this property. So it's had space sitting vacancy for 4 years now that this zoning change is really needed to bring it back to life. So please approve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public? Public comment is closed. To the commission. Commissioner Casal.
I'm ready for a motion.
Not ready. Commissioner Long.
I'm ready too. Easy.
Commissioner Marker. Commissioner Burns.
No questions?
I just have one question. This is not impacted at all by the Live Local, right? I mean, this doesn't give Live Local a better shot than it would have under a previous zoning.
Well, unfortunately, what our legislature did in this session broadens Live Local beyond just the industrial to the mixed-use districts. So I believe that the current density on the site at 40 units per acre is the actual cap for Live Local. It is. So I don't think this puts it any more likely or less likely to be.
That's all I wanted to see.
Sorry, I had to think it through. I hadn't thought about it. Yeah.
No, I think every time I approve something, so.
Motion to approve ordinance number 02-25.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Motion-
opposed?
Oh,
Sorry.
Motion to approve ordinance number 01-25.
Second.
And this was the quasi judicial. So if we want to do this, we're not required to do this with the roll, but I do it because people can challenge quasi judicial. So I like to do things on the record. It's fair. So call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Long.
Yes.
Commissioner Cassell.
Yes.
Deputy Vice Mayor Burns.
Yes.
Mayor Carney.
Yes.
Commissioner Marker.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Well done. I wondered why those places had been vacant for so long, and I didn't realize, because I go by there a lot, I didn't realize it was because of the problems in getting people because of the zoning. I never crossed my mind what Christina Morrison said.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Good. No first readings. Comments and inquiries on non-agenda city city attorney. We usually go to city attorney first, right?
No.
Manager.
We don't? Okay, city manager first.
Yeah, thank you.
I
I have
didn't-
one.
Clerk was trying to pull a fast one on me, that's all. All right.
I have one item briefly, and that is my office is working closely with Ms. Giniotis and Ms. Barletto regarding the Parking Management Advisory Board, evaluating as to its continued necessity. I am likewise preparing a presentation to take place during the July 8th City Commission meeting. That's 4 weeks from today, to enable the City Commission to evaluate the merits as to why we are where we are. Likewise, I would like to receive consensus from the City Commission that any items that would normally go to the Parking Management Advisory Board are at a stay until such time we have this dialogue anticipated to take place 4 weeks from now. So if I can secure you all support to that effect, myself along with Ms. Barletto and Ms. Giniotis will proceed accordingly.
I support it.
Thank you.
Me too.
Yeah, we did, because, yes, it's long overdue.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, I yield. Much appreciated.
City attorney.
I have nothing.
I'm sorry?
I have nothing.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Long.
All right. I got a couple comments. I'll keep them quick. I wrote them down, so I'll just read through them. First, I want to acknowledge the recent email that I think we all got regarding the opening of the SAFER grant application. So other cities, I've been told, have successfully used this program to bring in federal funding to support firefighter staffing. And given our current budget environment, I think it would be prudent to allow the fire department to move forward with this application. It costs us nothing to apply and could provide significant relief while maintaining essential public safety services.
Could I comment? I was actually speaking to the chief on the way in. I'd like some information, because in the past, well, we applied. At the time, we were told there were no requirements of us, but there was a pretty hefty staffing level, which exceeded our our level in the city because it was inclusive of Highland Beach. So had we had a problem with that grant, we would have basically had to keep a 22.5 more employees working, had that contract broken at a different time. We have to be conscientious that a lot of these grants have things in them that we don't know about. So I wouldn't mind if at some point in the future the chief comes to us and inquires, because we're getting that and I'd like more.
We got to do it quick then. I'm on board with that conversation, but there's only like 2 weeks left to apply for
Ladies
this.
and gentlemen, if I may, my plan is to proceed as you just outlined in terms of a presentation. We're looking at the possibility of the June 17th meeting for a presentation to that effect so that
Okay.
we can consider the logistics.
And if you can get us the information as quickly as possible, I think you've already got some in hand, then we can have time to consider it. I appreciate that.
Cool, thank you. All right, so my next item, first I'd like to recognize the outstanding men and women of the Delray Beach Police Department who were honored at the 20th Annual Delray Citizens for Delray Police Awards Gala on Friday. This event is always a highlight in our city, and this year is no exception. Congratulations to all the officers and staff who were nominated and awarded. Your dedication, professionalism, and service to our community do not go unnoticed. A special shout out to my friend Captain Gary Ferrari, who I wish was still here. He was named Supervisor of the Year. Gary has long been a steady hand and forward-thinking leader within the department. In 2024, he oversaw Vice, Intelligence, and Narcotics Unit, 2 problem-oriented policing teams in the Criminal Intelligence Unit. But his work on the Downtown Surveillance Camera Project truly deserves special recognition. We've talked about that here quite a bit. But Captain Ferrari played a central role in bringing that initiative to life, from securing funding and selecting equipment to overseeing installation through to completion. Because of his leadership, Delray Beach is on track to have one of the most modern, community-driven public safety camera networks in the county, if not the most advanced. Additionally, I'm proud to announce that the Officer of the Year Award has been renamed to the Perry Don Francisco Award going forward, in honor of Perry's 38 years of dedicated service to our community. His unwavering commitment to public safety and community engagement has left an indelible mark on Delray Beach. So these recognitions serve as a reminder of the daily sacrifices our officers make. They risk their lives to protect ours, and their roles are incredibly demanding. Events like this awards gala are crucial to acknowledging their hard work and dedication. Delray Beach is renowned for having one of the finest police departments in Palm Beach County. This reputation is built on our commitment to comprehensive training, a culture of excellence, a community-oriented approach, our innovative intervention and diversion strategies, particularly in addressing our homelessness, which we talked about at our last meeting. Those have set us apart and strengthened our community bonds. However, I must express my deep concern regarding our current staffing challenges, as outlined in Chief Major's letter to the city manager from May 15th. We are currently down 15 officers, with indications that we could lose up to 10 more very soon. This does not account for additional officers who may retire soon. The impact is already being felt. Specialty units such as the Detective Bureau, Criminal Intelligence Unit, Motor Traffic Unit, Problem-Oriented Policing Unit, and Community Policing Unit have been temporarily reassigned or dismantled to maintain minimum staffing levels for patrol operations. This compromises our ability to conduct thorough investigations and maintain the level of service our residents expect and deserve. If we reach a deficit of over 20 officers, it will be the most significant staffing shortage in our department's history. I'm not one to raise alarms unnecessarily, but I must emphasize that the situation is critical. And I wrote this before we discussed the fact that we are going to be discussing this next week. I'm going to read through it anyway. Our ongoing negotiations with the PBA have been in closed-door sessions for many months, yet, in my opinion, we've made little progress. At this point, I believe the union's request is relatively straightforward, which is to bring our officers' compensation and benefits to a competitive level within the county. Commissioner Burns and I have consistently advocated for a fair agreement to halt this attrition. And tonight, I simply would like to appeal to the other 3 of my fellow commissioners to reconsider your collective position. The safety of our residents and the integrity of our police department depend on our ability to to support and retain our dedicated officers. And I genuinely mean this as a plea. I'm not trying to pick a fight with anyone up here or even necessarily open a dialogue for tonight, since we're talking about this at the next meeting. Just in light of what's happening, I hope that we can have a conversation with that in mind, because this is extremely serious. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
City Attorney, you and I had discussed when that email came out that my takeaway was that we may have hired, we were onboarding, and there could be people training. Before the next meeting, can we get numbers if that's the case? I think you were going to ask HR for that information. I don't know if you have, or what. Thank you.
I think it's critical we have updated numbers for that
Well,
meeting.
I mean, because saying how many we're down is fine, but not if you've got, maybe, what if we onboarded 10, then we're not down.
We haven't.
But I don't know that. I'd like the staff.
Okay.
I'd
Yeah, I'd like to. I know that, but I'd like to hear that from staff. I agree.
Let's get some facts. Commissioner Mark.
Yeah, on that point, I would like to see some facts. I mean, how many people are we interviewing? Where are we? And I just want to put it out there. People leave jobs in the corporate world all the time. They don't always leave because of money. There's always other factors, and I don't want that to be lost on the public. Julie, I'm super glad that we're going to have that meeting next week to talk through where we are.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the article that came out yesterday did not paint a complete picture at all. It was alarming to me.
It was a blog. So.
It was alarming to me. It wasn't fair. I do think that we need to get going on these negotiations. It is becoming divisive. I certainly feel it. And there's nobody that supports first responders more than I do. My son is a supervisory special agent. His wife is a supervisory special agent. My brother-in-law is the ASAC in the Washington field office of the FBI, and I run an FBI company. So there is nobody up on this dais that cares more about law enforcement than I do, period, black and white. And I think some of the tactics have been hurtful, and I want it to stop, and I want it to be over, and I want to get back to having the relationship with the police department that we've always had and enjoyed. We need a strong police department, and I'm sorry that we've gotten where we are. I think that one of the lessons I'll take away for future negotiations is this meeting that we're going to have next week. I think full disclosure is the way to go. These negotiations are not going to move unless we all listen to each other's side in person, and we find the middle ground, because it's always in the middle, and we have to do that, because this is hurting our city. You can hear it in the voice of some of the residents, and it's causing me to not sleep at night, and I don't like that. So I'm really looking forward to next week.
Commissioner Casal.
Oh, thank you.
I'm trying to bounce around. I'm trying to give everyone
You're
their-
fine bouncing around. I want to thank our city attorney for quickly throwing out an email to Mr. Cannon and letting him know that we will have this discussion. And look, I hope the discussion lets the people know what's on the table. And if the residents are saying, hey, we're not content with, 15.3 million increase to their contract this year, let's make it more, then the residents will know that they have to pay for it. I mean, it's very simple, and the more information we can give, the better. So thank you. Mr. Moore, I'd like an update on the time and attendance situation, just in light of that ACFR, because that has been going on for a very long time. Subculture, I guess, I'm sure we all saw the videos of the event over the weekend, and I did write twice to the city to ask if that was a permitted event, and it was not a permitted event. So Mr. Moore, I guess I'm curious, I know that the city has imposed the 3 outstanding violations. I believe there's still the one for the December event that was had, has that been?
It has.
Okay, and what about this current event? Saturday evening, I believe it was.
I think you're referring to Friday.
I'm sorry, Friday.
So that's being addressed.
And how would you tell me that is being addressed? How?
Well, we convened earlier today to go over the specifics as to what the specific violation will need to be, and that is being finalized in the next couple of days or so.
You don't know that? Right now, sitting here, what he violated?
The violation
You met
is
today.
pending.
This happened Friday night. But what is the violation? I mean, when are we going to stop doing this? This is out of control. What is our recourse at a certain point? What can we do here? It's persistent violation. I like Mr. Mayo. I like the place. But how do what do we do? My understanding is we had our staff there. Did we have our staff there? So taxpayers are paying for our staff to go to this place to make sure he's not violating, and he is violating.
So, as confirmed via our briefing yesterday, today, code enforcement staff, other staff were on site and gathering the evidence necessary to initiate a violation.
What evidence are they gathering on site? There's videos. The tables are all moved. There's nothing in the room. It's wall-to-wall individuals. Presumably, you have people there. I would like to know what you're going to impose and when. I don't think this is unreasonable.
Can we let the process play out?
It's my moment. The last violation just got served from December. 5 months later. Because I understand, I'm talking, it's my time, please, excuse me. I understand, I asked the city attorney and she doesn't think we can implement a violation. And you're telling me we can. So which is it? Can we or can we not? If we can't, why? Why can't we? I mean, I'm gonna go with the city attorney on this one. So you're saying we had meetings, we are implementing in the next few days. When I wrote to the city attorney, I said, what's going on? And she's saying, no, we can't violate, even though it was wrong and he shouldn't have done it. So I'd like to know why. What is failing us here that we find ourselves talking about this at almost every meeting? What is happening that we cannot get this under control? And why is our staff out on his premises, 2 employees, because he's having events that are not permitted? I'm curious about that.
Code enforcement officers were present Friday evening. Typically, code enforcement officers have the ability to issue a violation. So, on that note, I will continue.
Why didn't they violate him right there then? Wouldn't they do it in person at that moment? I mean, one of the reasons why Mr. Orris said we couldn't implement the last violation is because we didn't have somebody on site who actually saw it. Now you're saying we had 2 people there who actually saw, and I saw all the videos. I was getting dinged with them all weekend long.
Yep.
Like every other weekend.
And I've seen what I've seen over the weekend as
So
well.
you understand
and
it's
I've
a
confirmed
violation.
that.
But I'm asking you, you're saying he's going to be violated, and our city attorney is saying he's not. Why is that? Why is there a difference?
I'm simply stating if code enforcement officers were present during the event Friday, violations would become applicable. Because if they were involved in a special event
City
that
attorney,
wasn't
can
so.
you answer this for me? Because I don't understand why I'm getting 2 different
what-
opinions.
I mean, I know they're your comments, but I think I'd like to
No,
let this play out.
I don't. No,
Because
I'm asking
you keep asking
her
the same question.
because
you keep
I'm
getting
not
the
getting
same
an answer.
This is just kind of disrespectful, the whole tone of this. Like this ambush you
not
always do to the city manager.
How am I ambushing? The guy's violating every
You
weekend.
could have
We're getting
asked
emails.
Terrence about this before the
I wrote him
meeting. You
2
make it into a
emails.
public
Excuse me.
ambush.
It's not a public
Yes, it
ambush.
is.
I wrote
It's
him
just-
2 emails and he did not respond.
I did
You're wrong.
They're clearly
No, you
working
didn't.
on this.
The city attorney responded. And when I followed up with her, she said something contrary to what you're saying. And I'm asking you why we can't get a handle on this situation. And that's not unreasonable,
I'm saying just
Mayor.
let this play out. Let it play out.
It's not going to
Everyone
play
has
out.
the same concern. Just
I feel like no. This is
I-
not appropriate, Mayor. This
I-
is probably the 20th time that we have discussed this.
Exactly. We don't need to discuss it
Yes,
anymore.
we do
Staff
because
is dealing
it's still
with
a
it.
problem. They're not. That's the problem.
They
They're
just
not.
convened today.
The
They
city
just
attorney
convened.
said they can't.
So what's the answer?
I
They
don't
can't,
know.
we
They're,
can't.
the city manager,
Right.
not the city manager. They can't because we sent our staff there, and our staff reported that there were no problems, when in fact there are.
Sounds like you should have a meeting with Terrence and the city
I have
attorney
talked to the
instead
city
of
attorney. No,
making
the
it into a
residents
thing that
should
we all
know
have to
what
listen to up here.
incompetence is going on here.
Ladies
I'm
and
sorry.
gentlemen.
I mean,
That's an appropriate word. The rules are only as good as the boards that oversee them, and we are overseeing the rules.
It's not our job to oversee code compliance.
It's our job to oversee the city manager.
We do not enforce code issues up here.
I know that.
You should join the code enforcement board if that's what you want to be doing.
Ladies and
You
gentlemen,
should
if I
stop
may
with
please.
the nonsense. I know what our job is, but our job
Clearly
is to
don't.
address the issues of the residents, which are constant, almost every week as a result of a persistent violation that is going on.
I'm
And
gonna
we
ask you
can't
to-
get it under
we're-
control.
You've exhausted that subject.
I
You've made your point
have, but here's my
4
next.
times.
I'm
the
on,
first 3 I'm letting you.
because I'm not getting correct answers.
You're
not getting the
There's
answers
some
you
frustration.
want.
No,
Do you have
I'm
any-
not getting answers.
so
Anybody
tired of hearing
watching?
about
Any other
this.
comment
I
you'd like to
do.
make?
I think we need to look at this hybrid restaurant situation because this is, we've opened the door to problems in this city that we cannot control. We do not have the ability to rectify these problems. We can't oversee them. We're getting additional complaints from 2 restaurants on Atlantic, and we have asked staff to start doing work that's going to cost the taxpayers money to look at creating a hybrid. And I don't know, under these circumstances, I think it's a horrible idea. Is every restaurant on Atlantic going to start moving tables at night and throwing in crowds of people? And how are we going to handle that? We can't handle this one place, and now we're getting complaints about 2 others. So I think we really need to probably, at the next meeting, have a discussion about whether or not we want to move forward with that hybrid. Because if we're not, and I don't think we are, Anthea, then I do think we should stop our staff from putting time and money and energy, taxpayer money, into it. It's been problematic for us. And so that, and also 401 Atlantic, Grooves, Breathe, what's going on? I'd like some information on that. Are they permitted? We went through that complaints every single weekend from the residents over there at 401 regarding the daiquiri bar, or 301 across the street, excuse me. And thank you. And it was challenging because they presented with Ring doorbells that were reflecting the fact that their doorbells were buzzing 1 o'clock in the morning because of music, and people were sleeping. If this is starting again, we need to figure it out and get ahead of it, because it's disappointing if people can't fall asleep in their own homes because noise, and I understand they live in that area, but I think we've been trying to get a handle on this, and I think we really need to. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Burns.
Ooh, yes. I have 2 things. Obviously, and I don't like beating a dead horse. We already said it. However, I do want to say that receiving Chief Major's email was obviously very concerning. And that I'm glad that we decided that we're going to have an open meeting to discuss it. And that, my hope is just the city and the union can come to a consensus on something that is fair and sustainable for everyone, and I'm looking forward to that. And I also wanted to just bring to your attention or address the proclamation situation. So our policy says that proclamations will not be issued for individuals, and I know that we've done 3 of them in the last couple of weeks, months. So are we going to change our policy, or are these?
It wasn't considered a proclamation. We've done special recognitions.
So they weren't proclamations because they were stated that they were proclamations.
Well, I think the one that we did for Kerry Cohn was called a proclamation, but it was because of the fire. And he
I mean, I don't have a problem with
no,
it. I'm just saying, but
we
the
should look at
policy
our
says.
I agree. We should look at the policy.
The one for Rita Ellis, was that a proclamation?
I don't remember.
We said it was a proclamation.
It had to do with if they're deceased or not?
I don't remember. What did we do for Roy Simon? Was Roy's a proclamation or a
Proclamation.
special recognition?
Yeah, I don't know the difference.
We should definitely think about.
We should figure out, yeah.
The definition.
Yeah, good call, Angel.
Because I get confused whether it's a special recognition or it's a
Do you want me to just email everyone and then you can bring it up for discussion?
Sure.
If there's an issue?
Sure.
I can
That's a
email
good
you.
idea.
the
Good
list.
call.
Thank you.
Good comment.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, I have several comments, and I'm not recommending any proclamations. Although the city's youth lost a great friend in Mark Sauer this past week. In Bound for College. It was the foundation he formed for a lot of kids who are going to college. Many of you know he's a former executive vice president of St. Louis Cardinals. He had a great a job in organized baseball, and then in his retirement, he took on a whole new path and did a lot for the kids with his Bound for College foundation. And so I just wanted to mention that he's a great loss. And I got a couple of ones that are not pleasant, but I'm going to say them anyway. The city had adopted, since we had a whole issue with driver's licenses, the city adopted a policy that we want all city employees to enter into this program so that we know when their driver's licenses are active and inactive. And the police union, back in the middle of May, advised the police officers not to sign this until such time as their attorney weighed in on it. Well, it's been a couple of weeks, and they're still are not in full compliance.
Mr. Mayor, yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Oh, they were?
Yes, they are.
They weren't
That
as
was
of a couple
confirmed
days
us
ago.
the last
Okay,
couple
then I
of
take
days.
that
It's
back.
done.
95%.
I take that back. But, 95% is not full.
Right.
Well,
Some of
a
them
couple
are
people are on
FMLA.
leave, FMLA, and things like that.
okay.
It's done.
But my view is that if we have any employees, whether they're police, fire, utilities, code enforcement, using city vehicles, that they need to have this. And if they're not in compliance, they shouldn't be driving our vehicles.
That's the direction, sir. That's exactly the
Okay,
case.
well, I'm just putting what I think.
May I ask a question, Mayor? How did you find that out?
I ask questions.
I know, but why don't we all know that
Right.
we had employees that were
'Cause
not willing? Because
I-
wouldn't you terminate somebody who's not willing to provide? I mean,
And that's all an administrative function, and all is under control, all is squared away in that regard. We have achieved the compliance. There was a communication that was perpetuated out of nowhere for whatever reason. You brought it up, and
Yeah,
our
I
confirmation was to
follow up on all
confirm.
that stuff.
So that's it.
I don't know what communication anyone's
I just
talking
knew that
about.
we
I
had
just
adopted
think
It was
if
nothing
something-
official from the
If
city.
something busy is like going on big like that, Mr. Moore, I think
Well,
we should
I was
all know.
very surprised that the union weighed in on it, which really wasn't their purview. But I'm not going to go down that road.
I have no idea.
I want to talk about subculture for a second, and I know you addressed the issue, and I'm not getting into whether they should or shouldn't be fined. I happen to think that they violated their they have that with it's not a BTR they have
Zoning certificate of use.
ZCU.
ZCU.
yeah the ZCU, right. And I'm going to be discussing at some point some of the emails that have gone out from the city and certain representative cities, letting them know that apparently that they don't think that they've been in violation of the CCU. I strongly disagree with that.
Right.
But I am because I went by there on Friday. Now I know that the people, so I didn't see anybody there monitoring the place. Now I know the fire guy said I was there the whole time. Okay, maybe, I don't know. Just because I didn't see him doesn't mean it wasn't there. Because I went across the street. I hope Dan Rose doesn't see where I can park my car, because I did park it right
You're
there.
in trouble.
And actually, I was just past his building, but Lucy was in the car, so everything's okay. And but I went in and took a look, and the place was packed. There was people lined up trying to get into the place, and I'm saying, look, that's this was an event, and unlike downtown, and I do think we should look at the hybrid thing, because I think we may have opened a can of worms that we don't want to do. But that's at least in the entertainment district.
I agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the entertainment district. This is not in the entertainment
Right.
district. And I'm troubled by the fact that this restaurant has not paid for its in lieu parking yet.
Right.
And the only mechanism, our only mechanism, we can't say you haven't paid for your in lieu, therefore we can shut you down. Our only
Right.
mechanism, we actually have to sue them for the money.
Right.
Like we're a creditor. That we need to look at that procedure, that if the people are not paid for their right to open, then we should have the ability to not have them open or not operate. Because that he has not paid his in lieu yet, to me is, I would not let him open. I would not let people open unless you've already paid for the in lieu or entered into some agreement
Well,
that you're going
that's
to
what
pay
he
it in installments.
That's what he missed his second installment.
Okay,
and
but he's
I
not
believe-
paid for it.
Cor-
He's in
It was
default.
due in April. I understand. And I do think, though, that part of the resolution approving the in lieu, it included language that he was going to enter into an agreement with the city. If he's in breach of that agreement, I do think we do have some recourse separate and apart from the agreement as in light of that resolution, because he's in breach of that right now.
I
which means
understand his
in
breach on the other stuff, but I'm just saying, as a policy,
Right.
we should make sure that if people do not pay for their in lieu, this is beyond. We've approved a bunch of them. If you have not paid for your in lieu parking, you should not be allowed to open.
If I
Well, then
may,
we have to
Mayor?
go to the in lieu ordinance, because we either allow a one-time payment or installments over.
But if they
3
don't make the
payments.
one-time payment, they're still allowed to open.
No, but it's because they're in installments. But I agree with the mayor.
No, if they don't make the one-time, they're still allowed. We have no mechanism to
No,
enforce
you're
it.
saying the ordinance reads that they have the option of A, a one-time payment, or B, a number of payments. But I agree with
But
you.
they're
The
not, but
problem is,
if they don't even accept
but
the
when they
one-time-
default, we should be able to pull it.
Right,
Is
but
what I think
so
he'd
I'm
rather
saying,
have.
I think that anyway.
right.
We need to. We need
gonna
that
look at the
mechanism for
agreement.
enforcement.
Because, right,
I don't have to
otherwise-
go to court. I mean, to my brethren lawyers who love
I
to do
think
cases,
the agreement.
I don't want to go to court.
I think the agreement should say if you can't satisfy your parking, you don't get to open until you make that payment and you make good on your agreement. And that's kind of the language.
I'm continuing. I mentioned the hybrid. I am looking forward to this discussion about the police contracts, because I don't think that the public understands that we've offered. They all talk about competitive pricing, and even Commissioner Long represents competitive pricing. We all want competitive pricing. We all want salaries. They were going to start at 72. By the third year, they're at 80. What
Right.
the fight is about is whether or not the officers with 3 extra years in the drop program. And I can assure you, the cops, the ones that I've talked to, the person entering the police department today isn't worried about whether he's getting that extra 3 years in 25 years. They're not thinking of that. They're thinking how much money they're going to get. They want to pay for their family, pay for their boat, pay for their vacation, whatever. They want the salary. And now we're all in agreement on that.
Right.
So people have to understand what the issue is. It's not the salaries, because we've offered the salaries. It's whether or not an additional 3 years to a drop program is going to be added to the contract. That is the big sticking point. And until people understand what that issue is, it has nothing to do with what they love to go around saying, our lowest paid officers were, well, it's because you haven't taken the contract. Why don't they let their membership vote?
And Mr.
Let
Lord,
the members vote. Let the young officers vote.
Right.
And see
Mayor
what they
Carney?
want to do. Because the older officers who are going to be eligible for this program aren't riding around in the community patrol things. They say, well, we're here to help the younger officers with their guidance. Well, why aren't they riding around in community patrol? Because if you're going to teach somebody to de-escalate a situation, you ought to be next to them.
I agree with you.
So
I agree.
anyway, so I'm actually have a couple more things I'm not going to do, but because it is late.
Wait, can we add to one thing? When you put the presentation together, will you get that to us? Because I think the way we have to simplify it for the residents, and it should start off with what we've offered, what we've accepted, even though we're at the table where everything could change,
I think he's going to be
and what's still on the table that's outstanding. Because some of the stuff like the drug testing being outstanding, residents should say, why is that an issue?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Why can't we agree on you're
Of
going to be
course.
randomly drug test?
So what I will do is assemble a presentation that will be uploaded by Friday, commensurate with the expectation to get you squared away by the weekend. So we have work to do beginning tomorrow.
Yes.
And any other suggestions commissioners have, feel free to write to the city manager, who's going to include that.
Please do.
The last thing I'm going to mention, because I have to mention it. I've mentioned it before. I don't know how this city can be satisfied that it's taking as long as it is to investigate that accident on West Atlantic. And the police, I know the police chief says, well, there's this process. It has been over 4 months. This is not acceptable. And how we're up here not accepting it. I'm not accepting this because this is the job that should have been done a couple of months ago. And the excuse, well, I couldn't get people in to testify. If I couldn't get people in to testify, I'd suspend them. But that's me.
You have to direct that to the city manager.
I'm directing it to the city manager. It's the city manager, and I told Terrence, Mr. Moore, on Monday, I'm not satisfied with this progress. We should not be accepting this. Should not be acceptable to
Do we have a timeline, a date certain that this would be done, Mr. Moore? Do we have a date certain?
So as we talked about during the May 20th meeting, we were looking at a couple of weeks. So my estimates are by the latter part of next week or so, Chief Major, if I can get another information to that effect. And I have to be conscious in this regard, ladies and gentlemen, because although I'm city manager, I've offered my expectations, and I supported this from the very beginning, going back to February, to proceed with an internal affairs investigation in this regard. However, once that's been directed, ethically, I have to be extremely careful about not meddling too much more and above and beyond that. So I'm simply awaiting for some type of update and conclusion over the next couple of weeks. I think that's a fair observation. So
I don't
think
it's meddling. I think the perception out there is we give a direction, and as we did with in a number of things, we give a direction, and it's not it's somehow not followed.
I think
And-
the direction has been followed. I think
Well,
that is
you know,
underway, and I'm anticipating
nobody else
by the
thinks
next
4
regular
months is-
meeting.
Nobody else thinks 4 months is a fair timeline.
Mayor,
on
if I
that
may,
simple
though,
investigation.
I would give the chief the compliment of he really jumped on the issue when it came out and decided to do the investigation. So if you could let Mr. Moore know specifically what's slowing it
February,
down,
March, April,
and
May.
we can get an
Now
email
getting into June.
update to
February,
let us
March,
know
April, May.
specifically what's slowing this down. Because if individuals are not complying with the investigation, I think the same rules probably apply to the police that apply to the city employees in terms of being in compliance with
Right.
those.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm done.
Ladies
Thank
and
you.
gentlemen, if I may please, given that, I would like for the chief to come up at this time to offer that clarity.
No, I don't. I don't want to hear from the chief. It's the commissioner comments. I don't want to hear from the chief. I think I made my point pretty clear. So, we're adjourned.